Podcast.
And it's me, Karak with ACG.
I'm going to be sluggish this episode. I traveled this week. I had 2 hours of sleep last night. Not last night, the night before. I know you run on that historically quite often, but I am just not wired like you, my friend. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you hear me stuttering, stammering, I mean, last night was awful. It was actually awful. Like me trying to get a sentence out. It was terrifying to listen to. I could not properly form a sentence. Anyway, welcome everyone to episode 201 of the H.A.M Radio Podcast. We are doing this live on Twitch. Once again, the experiment continues. Hello, Chromie, Kopi, War, Die, They Lied. I don't know if I said your name right, but anyway, we have live viewers, and like last episode, we're going to interact with the chat as we go along with our new segments to bring in different points of view, along with Karak and I's to make sure we cover all our bases. It was pretty successful last time. We had about 90 to 100 of you guys sitting with us. Last time, granted, that was episode 200. It was a special, but still, it was awesome to see everyone with us because for me, it's two birds, one stone. I was telling you, Karak, because I usually stream after our podcast a game, and by that time, once I get this podcast up on the Patreon for early access and everything, it is like I think 9 o'clock at night usually, and by that point I stream till 11, 12, and I'm just tired at that point. So anyway, I think this is going to be a consistent thing because, like I said, two birds, one stone, and a lot of people really enjoyed it. Like Bug043 said, yes, 2 in a row live, and then Colby hits us with the bits. So anyway, Karak, as always in our introductions, any plans for you in the upcoming weeks? Anything happening for you, or is it just business as usual?
Yeah, it's pretty much. I'm doing a couple hardware reviews, which are rare for me. I mean, I do one very often, or very rarely. So I'm doing one of those, and then just a couple games. But overall, it's more like indie stuff, smaller stuff, and then we've been doing a shit ton of playing games with like patrons.
Nice.
Like it'll pop up where randomly, like somebody's like, "Hey, let's play this." So that's sort of what's going on in the downtime prior to Rage. And a couple other games that I want to cover, but nothing huge.
Cool. Yeah. For me, it's really been this is the big week for me. It was where I went out for Borderlands 3. So right now, I don't have a ton on the horizon. I'm hoping to get some type of access to Rage 2, but my emails for Bethesda are not being answered and have not for weeks now. So a little concerning. I'm wondering if I got booted off the list due to recent content, but I digress. That's kind of what's on the horizon for me. That's May 14th. But other than that, no big projects other than what I teased at the end of last year. I still chip away at that constantly. But anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and... Oh my god, I was just looking at the preview of my thing, and it said the Echo Cast was disabled. I'm like, well, yeah, I'm not playing Borderlands, but I guess I never disabled it anyway. So let's get into this, starting off with our first story, which is... Borderlands 3, microtransactions, and more importantly was the Randy Pitchford response, which really lit the internet ablaze. So, actually our source, like always for most of our episodes, is Game Informer. I just think they write things up in a more concise fashion, which is good for us to quickly read through the data to you guys and then get into the discussion more importantly. But this time they were at the heart of a controversy, as they posted a tweet saying, despite Randy Pitchford saying there wouldn't be microtransactions, there are in Borderlands 3, because he said during the gameplay reveal event that there were going to be cosmetics along with paid DLC. But Randy got really pissed and throughout I'd say like 15 tweet tirade, said how he believes that he was misrepresented, how they fucked him over. He deleted that one. He was like, thanks for, I really don't understand why you guys would fuck me here, but thanks anyway. And yeah, he pretty much went in on why he feels that Gearbox and Borderlands 3 are stepping away from some of the, what do they call it, like meta currencies that most AAA games are plagued with. And he was talking more so about premium currency and additional things that you tend to see in games, and that, there won't be loot boxes. So you can see that this was an article written that had to be rewritten for Game Informer, because now it says, during a live stream dedicated to Borderlands 3 first ever gameplay reveal, CEO Gearbox, see, I told you guys, I warned you, I'm going to be stuttering and stammering here. Gearbox CEO Randy Pitchford took the stage and told the audience that the upcoming game won't have microtransactions. To clarify, Pitchford is talking specifically about how you won't be able to buy weapons, gear, or anything that affects gameplay. Cosmetic items like the heads, however, are still purchasable with real money. We're selling cosmetic items, but we're not going to nickel and dime players, said Gearbox's Paul Sage in an interview with us. DLC will come down the line, but the game won't have anything excessive. Keeping purchasable loot boxes out of Borderlands 3 is part of Gearbox's commitment and vision for the game. We've made a commitment to the story style and design that our fans have told us loud and clear that they cherish and want us to preserve, Pitchford said. But anyway, I think the main focus was that Randy lost his shit online. And so before we get into the differentiation of meta currencies, microtransactions, whatever you want to call it, what do you think about this general commotion going on your Twitter feed?
I mean, the big CEOs, I think, need PR people because they have passion about their game and they talk about it. Mm-hmm. And stupid stuff said that is wrong, which this technically was. So what should have... There's probably people are going to tell him no around him. Right? Mm-hmm. You hear it like yes men around movie stars where yes men will never say, don't say this.
Yeah.
There needs to be somebody. I think it's been demonstrated by now that it's like somebody needs to be there and be like, whoa. What are we calling them then? Because another thing is just because Randy says that doesn't mean that, let's say, somebody working on the game won't be randomly asked and say something on Twitter and call it something that it's not. Mm-hmm. Everybody in the company needs to have the same words. And that's the problem, is the nomenclature keeps getting screwed up.
Yeah.
They need to figure out, they need to go, okay, we're calling these, whatever. Somebody was joking in my podcast calling them tiny purchases, but they need, you need to identify what they're called. And I do agree with what he was saying, because Borderlands in the past have had transactions of some kind. He probably just should have said something along the lines of, it's not going to have microtransactions like a mobile game. Yeah. But we're going to sell some skins or what have you, and then be done with it and move on. But when you put your foot in the sand and you say one specific thing and you cut it off, that's what causes the problem.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we have.
Exactly. And I think if I've noticed one thing about Randy, I never got to interact with him, by the way, during my time in LA, but when I was watching him on stage, they were presenting, we were the fourth and final session. That's the one I got put into. And when they did the same gameplay reveal presentation that they've done multiple times before, Randy was still jumping on stage like a child, almost excited about some of the stuff that was happening on screen that was unscripted. Just the demoers doing cool stuff with the game that they had made. And while Randy has his flaws, I found his passion a little bit refreshing to see in a CEO. You hope to see that in more of them, despite, once again, his flaws and controversies aside. But yeah, when it came to this, that's one of those situations where he definitely needs to just clamp down. He doesn't have to curse out Game Informer. But I also have to say, to an extent, and someone actually mentioned it in the chat, I'll get a name in a second. It was Norse Makoto. He said, I kind of side with Randy. And I wouldn't say I side with Randy, but more so I understand why he got frustrated. Because while the headline and the content of the article was accurate, was fair, and did not misrepresent what he said, I thought the tweet put out there on the platform where they have over 1 million reach was somewhat misrepresented, and I think that obviously he was talking more so about the previous microtransaction DLC structure of Borderlands 2. Now, you can never be too sure in this AAA space, which is where I think it gets hairy, because, we've frequently seen these companies that we love so much go down these dark paths, and what you think is safe is no longer. So I get why people wanted that exact clarification, and when it's slightly different, headlines change, and that's part of the reactionary media that we have nowadays in our games industry. So I think it was multiple sources, but I personally overall understand why Randy got frustrated. Does that mean I'm okay with it, or that he shouldn't have handled it better? No, but I'm just saying I think Randy, his sensitivity is somewhat justified, but also I think he needs to tone it down a little bit, because he gets so personally connected to the product, something that is very hard to do or hard not to do, rather, when you are creating it. It's almost inevitable. But we often talk about egos being attached to games, and when, for example, we trash someone's favorite game or say something more critical about it, some people get offended, even though it's just an opinion and it has nothing to do with that person whatsoever. And I think Randy's sensitivity is increased because he's so protective of Borderlands 3. most certainly wants it to succeed. You can see it written all over his face that a lot has been poured into this game, and given its development time and the reveal and the hype, and also some of the controversy around the way that it was revealed at PAX, where it was very messy. I feel like maybe he just wanted this to go right, like no problems. And the second he saw a problem, like it just triggered him. Honestly, I think that's the thing. He just triggered. He went off the wall, and as Armand has said, it can be a touchy subject for him. Although he was talking about it in a different way, but that's a good way of putting it. It was a touchy subject. But I also think, and Armored Muffin pointed this out because he said, quote, "We don't have microtransactions," end quote, but then, quote, "We just have small micro-purchasable transactions, cosmetic items." And that's the thing, is that I hate when CEOs or anyone in the games industry tries to approach their audience as a bunch of dumbasses who can't distinguish. Oh, well, they didn't say microtransactions. They said small purchasable items, so therefore they're not the same thing. It's like, no. They're microtransactions, small things you buy. It's the same shit. So rant over on that one, but that's kind of my general standpoint on it.
Yeah, I think also there's a lot of companies that do the microtransactions, and then you have Mortal Kombat with its issues where people were mad about that and got it wrong. Some got it right, some got it wrong, but there were some wrong bits, and I think that all the companies are looking. This is also an indicator that all the companies are looking at Twitter too. And so Ed Boon was like, no, blah, 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 despite his defense actually having a hole in it, in a way Randy's did too. He's like, no, I meant this. Well, it's like, you know what? If you're going to pour your love and attention into a game, pour your love and attention into a PR rep whose job is to do that. That's the thing. These guys need to start stepping. It would be the same with us. Like if you got big enough as a YouTuber, let's say, and you had a couple people working for you, or you created a YouTube channel with like multiple channels underneath you, at some point you would have to say, okay, guys, we need to all use the same language.
Yeah.
And that usually is what I've worked with companies with PR reps. That's what the PR rep does, is they're like, okay, let me check. And I think Randy wants to be the guy on the ground, which is fine, but the guy on the ground has to be clear. And if you're not clear, you turn into Peter Molyneux, which can be really destructive over a long period of time. And I don't want it to be. I would rather look at Borderlands and go, and I think most fans would rather look at Borderlands and know exactly what they're getting. And so they're just like, oh, it's okay. If I see what you're saying, you're going to have these, which a lot of people are like, the other games have had them. So that's not that magically different. But instead, we get this bullshit. And agreed, sometimes I don't like the word clickbait, because I think that, for example, myself, I'm smart enough that if I see, you'll be shocked at number 7, I'm just like, no, I won't, because I'm never going to watch your video. Like, I ignore those things. But I do feel that sometimes the tweets are a little caustic on purpose. They do just want a reaction. And some of the stuff I saw, I was just like, yeah, that seems like that was almost on purpose, just being like, hey, we're going to... And I don't even mean them, Game Informer. I mean even other people, where you see some of these tweets and stuff, and they're just hoping for a reaction, because that gets them some news. It
does, and it creates a news cycle, and then it adds to the already existing one and brings attention to it. Norris Makoto actually said, yeah, it may have been just easier for Randy to say, no, there's no loot boxes, but there is cosmetics. I don't think people would shit on Randy too bad then.
Right.
And I think that brings up a really valid point, in the sense of maybe Randy saw that, thought of that, and then got really annoyed at himself.
For sure. Yeah, you get annoyed at yourself.
And
Absolutely.
then we see him take it out on someone else. And we've seen Randy get quite emotional before, even before Borderlands 3. You know, when things were just quiet, like when someone came at him on his Twitter, he'd always clap back pretty much. He just never walked away. It's the type of guy he is. And once again, not that it justifies it, but I think that he was probably annoyed with himself. Like, fuck, why didn't I, on the big stage, like, now people are going to misrepresent our product. That's a ton of people walking away. And I'm sure he thought of, like, the more finer things involved. And based off his, like I said, his 16-tweet response to Game Informer, it seemed that way. It seemed like he was like looking at the nuances of the ripple effect of what this article could do.
Do you think maybe he also just wished they would have asked for clarification at the event?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is I will say,
I mean, come on, I would have.
Well, I did not talk to Randy, and I only got to talk with Matt Cox, who was lead boss designer at Borderlands 3. Awesome guy.
Oh, cool.
We bumped into each other. It wasn't like an event where things were out of reach. While it was I'm gonna be totally honest, quite messy in the terms, like for me, I was supposed to go there, record gameplay, do a stream, and do an interview, and then when I got there at the event, they were like, you can't do gameplay and streaming, you can do one or the other, which I was like, shit, now I can't get vanilla gameplay and I have to stream, which is fine because then I made the best of it and I just recorded my stream gameplay and used that for my footage. But still, now you got my mug on all of my videos, which sometimes I just feel it lacks a little bit of professionalism. And then my interview, I never got a response until an hour. Like I emailed on Sunday or Monday and I never got a response until an hour before, when I even individually texted the guy an hour before the event started. And then he approached me as I began streaming. And so, long story short, I obviously couldn't get the interview done either. And so, while the event was kind of messy and the way they handled it, and it, for me, I felt it a little bit frustrating because I even tried to get in earlier to avoid this stuff, but then other YouTubers were able to, but they wouldn't let me. It was really silly. Nothing felt out of reach where if I was like, hey, let me talk to Randy, he was, like you said, on the ground. It wasn't impossible to get into contact with this guy.
Or somebody there, like you don't even need to talk to Randy. You could be like, hey, can we get clarification on this before we go live? Mm-hmm. If I was going to do any kind of those if I was going to do a video, for instance, on like something, I would a lot of times be like, hey, I need to fucking like check in and verify that what I'm saying, especially if I looked at the name or the wording convention on a story. I was like, this is pretty harsh, because I think it said despite what we were told or whatever, and you're like, But again, it's questionable. I don't know what people thought. That's the problem. Everybody's assuming what people thought, including Randy. Like, Randy's like, well, I thought you would understand. They're like, well, we thought you would tell us. And we're like, well, we thought you'd check in. That's a lot of fucking people assuming shit. At some point, somebody's got to stand up and be like, okay, where does it stop? It stops with the person understanding they shouldn't say that shit, right. And it starts with people checking in. They're on both sides. Sorry about my dog.
No.
Hey, shut the fuck up.
You're fine. Bangarama said now Maddie's dog can have a bark off with Karak's dog. I'm sure that'll happen.
And he just sit, and there's no tone change. Just bark. It's just continually.
He's just making noise.
I think he's talking to himself. He's like, I don't know, man. He's like a Deacon from Days Gone. He's just, what the hell's going on back here? He's just mad.
Let's see here. Armitaz asked, do you think it was the context, or do you think it was the context was harder to go about asking for stuff in a more level professional ground than no, I would say more so that it was easy to get into contact with people, and like when I sat down with Matt Cox, like I'm sure I could have had an interview right then and there, but it was more so like as a creator, you don't always want to approach every single member of the industry you meet as like opportunity. Like you're vital to my growth, and that's how you approach them. Like, these are people, and like I wanted to get to know Matt, and I wanted to get to know the other YouTubers and streamers there, and like that's the stuff that's really important and cultivates a legitimate relationship. So I hope that accurately answers the question. Do you think they will sell golden box keys? Asked Molotov, Mitchell, or Michelle. No, I don't think so. I think that's hands off. That's a system that can't change because it's connected to Shift, and now Shift's going to get even bigger because of the EchoCast thing. Plus, it was pretty fundamental to the end game of Borderlands 2, the pre-sequel, and now Game of the Year edition. So that's going to be relatively untouched. I think it'll be just fine. And also, Millen asks us, well, we'll talk about this next, what's your opinion on the voice recast with Claptrap and Reese? To me, they're very distracting. And we actually talked about this last week with recasting and how when it's I don't want to say a bad one, but certain ones can be, like, they stick out like a sore thumb and they pull you out for just a moment. When I was playing as Reese, I think Ray Chase, who is now voicing as Reese, is a fantastic voice actor. Very flexible voice. Has done JRPGs, Western RPGs, your standard soldiers. He has a very good voice where I thought he did a good enough job with that, where I was not distracted. Claptrap was the one I did notice. So they actually replaced the original voice actor of Claptrap. Originally, he worked for free because he worked at Gearbox. But now they won't pay Claptrap because he asked for money. So they said they couldn't afford him, but now they're paying someone else, which is awfully strange. Maybe he's that new voice actor's working for free. But anyway, the new Claptrap sounds good, but you can tell there's just a little something off with that. And that was with, mind you, you couldn't really hear it in my stream when I was playing it, but it was really loud there, like loud music, tons of people talking, just commotion, and it was at times hard to focus in the terms of like hearing things, like, you know, just trying to pick apart the sound. But even then, in that atmosphere, I noticed that there was something off with Claptrap's voice, ever so subtly. And so I think that will indicate when we get our hands on the full product, and I'm sitting here in this room, it's nice and quiet, that it could present a bit of a distraction. So I don't know, have you had a chance to hear some of the new voices?
No, but I mean, overall, like I had to live through, North replacing the guy from Game of Thrones for Destiny. Remember that shit? There's the Wizards in Space, whatever his name is, Peter Dinklage, who did a terrible voice. So to me, it's noticeable, but I'll move on quite quickly from that. I'm also accustomed to movies where entire actors are replaced for various reasons. And we don't know the timing. That's another thing. Did they already say, hey, we're going to use our Claptrap? Then somebody's like, well, or the original voice actor's like, I'd like to do it. And they looked at the price and they're like, no. I mean, there's like, you have no clue. We all want it because we're fans, but we have absolutely no clue what the contract decisions are, how long it's going to be. Also, remember, they have to, I've said this in reviews and I've talked about it in a couple side videos. Voice acting is insanely expensive. People don't realize that. Insanely expensive. And because you're not just using a voice actor, you're also hiring studio heads and all this stuff, audio designers. So
directors,
we have no clue what's actually happened. They said, hey, we're not going to go this route. Also, the fact is that a lot of people, this will be their first Borderlands, so they won't have an example of the past, Claptrap. That's also okay. I think also it's been a while, so some of us are going to notice, some aren't. It sucks because we all want the same voice actor, but in the end, that will not change my opinion of the game. If he's a good voice actor, like you said, the one guy replaced somebody, if that guy's a good voice actor, I'll say he's better than the last one if I remember the last one. I'll just be like, he's really good. That's just the way it is. And it sucks, but sometimes the replacement will be good. It sounds off to you. I don't know what it'll sound like to me. But I get why people are disappointed. Every movie I've ever seen where a sequel comes out and they replace the main guy or whatever, and you're like, but I move on pretty quick. I always have a tendency to move on because it's just business. And stupid business, but business.
Yeah, I think for me, at least with Claptrap, I'll say, I've played this series since 2009, I believe, and so you get so used to one voice and replaying that game with the same voice that when you hear that different voice, I feel like it's almost that annoying issue constantly resurfacing. Like an annoying ex. It's just there it is again. It just keeps coming back. And so I feel like that is something that could happen to a lot of people where it won't like critically affect the game, but there might be like a funny line that is well written and it's everything you wanted to hear at that moment. The execution was on point, like everything was directed positively, but yet that voice just didn't nail it quite as well as the original. I wouldn't say might have, because you don't want to say speculation is what's leading you astray here, but I just feel like that will hurt some people. They'll be like, oh man, like it'll just be a painful reminder. He'll crack this funny joke and it'll be like, that just didn't sound right. The tone was off or something like that. That's the thing with voice. It's a craft, and certain people just have magical golden voices. I always use Yuri Lowenthal as an example. No one has a voice like him, right? Like I think.
Well, Anthony Ingruber, who does the Joker for the Telltales games, like he's fantastic, and he replaced Mark Hamill, and for me. And he replaced other actors at other times. So yeah, it can definitely happen. But at the same time, if that's if that's the only negative, I'm okay with that, because there's other things I'm worried about too. If that's the only negative, is that Claptrap's a different voice actor, and maybe I don't like it, that'll be fine, because there's 1,000 other things I'm going to be worried about, and which I'm going to talk to you about, by the way, because I retweeted your video and pretended it was mine. Did you see that?
I didn't get to see the original tweet. I just saw people just like, Karak, this is Matt's
they were like,
video.
Well, no, not only that, people thought I was there at the event. There was multiple people who were like DMing me going, dude, you were at the event? You should have. And I'm all, no, I wasn't at the event. Why are you asking me that? They're like, well, you posted your video, and then I went and looked, and I had been mobile at the time, and you said in your title, you're like, my time with blah blah blah, and I just was like, I saw it, and I'm like, copied, pasted, put it in, sent it away, and then later it was like, I think it was Cowboy was like, dude, you were there, you should hang out. And he's like, no wait, this is just Matty's. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, I did see that tweet.
Hopefully I got some views for you, but
yeah, I mean the video's doing really well, so
yeah, I was just like, what the fuck are these people talking about? But there's that. I can see it affecting people because it affects me for sure. But at the same time, there's a lot of things I'm worried about every game, and voice is one element of about 10.
Right.
So that will definitely make an impact. And if he sucks, he sucks. And I'll certainly point it out. But there's other things I'm also just as vitally worried about, from performance to gun sounds to fucking music to, to all this other stuff that is also very important to me as a gamer. So
we'll see.
It sucks.
Overall, what I played was really good, and I was head over heels.
When can I ask you questions about your video?
Oh, dude, you can do it right now. This is our Borderlands 3 section.
All right.
So hit me.
Okay,
with it.
so here we go. Here we go. Dude, I don't know if I'm completely insane. There was no recoil in almost anybody's videos in those guns. Was there a skill that removed the recoil? I counted pixels. Oh, fuck.
Nope.
What is going on? Is that always been that way? Because the SMG was a laser gun in the game.
I know what you're
They're just
talking
like,
about. Yeah.
Gak. There was no recoil on that.
I noticed it on a pistol, but also after playing Borderlands 1, I felt like what would happen is the recoil would almost look like someone was jump cutting a picture in Sony Vegas around, so just the gun was moving. It didn't feel like natural recoil. It was just like, boop, it's over here, left, right. It was just repositioning itself. So I was kind of happy that when the gun did start moving, it felt a little more like it had a kick to it. Now, we didn't get any heavy, huge revolvers or anything, but yeah, in answer to your question, there weren't skills that reduced recoil, and there was very minimal recoil. I was very shocked when I was using the SMG that when I was aiming down my sights. Granted, they gave us an epic, which it could have been finely tuned.
Oh, okay, sure. It could have been tuned.
And it was preset loot that started us off. You know, they gave us a Vortex kind of shotgun that switched from shock to fire, an epic SMG. So there could have been the chance there that maybe they tweaked with it a little bit.
Because, dude, there's one video. It wasn't as bad in yours, but it was like the official gameplay trailer or whatever, and he's got this SMG, and Randy's like, we're going to switch to the shotgun, blah, 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 and he shoots a shotgun, and it's like, boom, boom, and I'm all, oh, no. Okay, well, maybe that's a low-power shotgun or an auto shotgun and with recoil, and then they grabbed the SMG, and that fucking thing did not move. Like, it was just a laser gun, and to me, SMG is about holding chaos in your hands. It's about absolute anarchy. I mean, that's a little short gun, throwing out a ton of lead, crazy shit's going on. So to me, I want it to be a little hard. It's like a bucking bronco, man. You got this, and you're trying to get that SMG. That's what it's about, right? Is trying to get that thing, beat it in on somebody. So that was the only thing I saw in the any of the trailers. There was nothing else that bothered me. I read or listened to your thing about the AI, and I get that, and I get your point where you were like, listen, I would like to see it work better, but AI wasn't their strong point originally, which is my major complaint about the prior ones. So I'm shelving that. That was the only problem I saw was the recoil. But my question was the audio. So a lot of times they'll fool you with audio to make you think there's recoil, or they'll fool you with recoil to make you think there's audio. It depends on where it is.
I was going to just bring that up.
It was loud, I know that, but were you like, okay, the guns sound like there's recoil? Like are threaded were these beefy sounds on the guns?
Yeah, I don't think you had a chance to watch the stream, but I was fucking creaming my pants
didn't get to watch the stream.
Time. Like, I was every gun I shot, I was like, this, I think you'll have a field day with it. It sounds spectacular. The gun sounds are so good that I said during my stream, I think even if you know nothing about audio, you'll hear this and go, this is really good audio. It sounded fantastic. And even when I listened back, it didn't sound as good. But when I had the Astro headphones on and everything, like it had just, it sounded so fucking good. There was echo to it, but there was a real kick. There was a crunch. It depended on what gun you were using. I also described in my video that elements had certain sounds. So while it's useful to be able to identify when you're shooting fire versus shock,
very much
looking
so,
at the HUD at the bottom right with what mode you're on, you just know by the sound. It was also useful for your enemies when they were shooting an element at you. You were able to be like, oh fuck, that's nuclear. You know, that has like a buzzing or a fuzzing sound to it. I got to get out of here so that's where the sound design really stuck out to me. But yeah, the recoil is something that ties into what was one of my overall complaints, which was it was a little easy. I went down only when I was hoarded by enemies.
Interesting.
Which was where I was fighting boss characters with lots of health, but also like 5 other grunts next to him. Which, by the way, I should mention now. It doesn't mean they were spongy. It just meant that there was a lot of things shooting at me at once, and there was no way to defend myself.
Right.
Makes sense. And so when you combine that with no recoil and the AI sometimes breaking, that was an aspect that needed work. Where Borderlands, I don't think is a game defined as one that needs to be overly challenging, I'd say. But I think this is a place that they can take it a step forward. It was far too easy.
When you were messing around, there was like video of the guns, become walking around and shooting and all that shit. Can you talk about, is there skills?
I can talk about anything, yeah.
Okay, so with the skills thing, did you feel like they were... So remember, we've talked about this. Remember Spider-Man, you got the different suits. And there's sort of an eclectic feel to each suit's power, and then you can later on grab the powers and move them around for some suits or add them. Were you like, all right, if Karak and I played this... Let's say 4 of us played. If 4 of us played this game, do you feel... Let's say 4 of us played this game. This is going to be really definitive, but let's say 4 of us played this game and we all chose shotguns. I know that sounds crazy. Is there enough skills, though, that there would be some differentiation between you and me and 2 other people? Were those the type of skills, or were they like +5 to accuracy?
Oh, so you're saying, let's say you were playing as Zane, I'm playing as Amara, and we're using the same gun based off.
But
we're
using the same exactly.
Is the gun
exactly? Are the skills a good differentiation between?
Okay,
each
so
other?
I only played as Amara, but when I looked at her trees, I personally believe so. I don't want to say definitively.
No, that's
just
all
because
right.
I haven't experienced it all and seen it all, but I will say that, for example, I was investing in a tree that had a thing called Rush, which was a stackable thing. So as you do X amount of damage or whatever, or kill X amount of enemies, you get a stack that increases movement speed, reload speed, and then I had a separate one that increased reload speed, which was percentage based, like 5, 10, 15. But that combined with an SMG, which gives you the best mobility in the game, now you're moving around like a madman as Amara, and you're reloading faster than anyone else. So that SMG will play different than Zane, who, given his nature, maybe he has something that increases crit damage where he could pick, let's say, an SMG class style gun, like where it has a slower reload speed but more damage, and now he can benefit from that crit damage more than, say, Amara. So I think guns play differently based off who you're playing as, in answer to your question. It's felt that way. Like, I felt personally that when I got an epic sniper, which you'd shoot a shocking orb and then you'd shoot a bolt into it and it would blow up.
Oh, just like Unreal 1999,
yeah,
really?
Okay,
cool. Awesome. It's my favorite style of weapon. I love that.
And
that's so cool.
It was a little hard to do because you'd have to pick the orb, shoot it, and then press down,
and then
switch fire mode, and then shoot again. And you'd have to time it right. And since it's a sniper, you're zooming into a scope, so it's sometimes your depth is a little off. But
sure.
Anyway, I felt like that gun didn't have as much kick as a sniper than maybe a hunter build would have had, or an assassin build rather would have had with its bonus crit damage. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Borderlands has historically been pretty good at matching guns with your character builds, but it felt like historically each time each class was good with a very specific weapon. Like the sirens always matched with the SMGs and shotguns, like always. And then the assault rifles always went to the soldiers. And
then, oh, I apologize. Continue.
No, I was more so wrapping it up and saying, so I don't know if this one will be a little more open, where I can be a siren who's a good sniper. I didn't go that deep on the skill tree, partially for myself because I knew they'd have another event down the line. If I am invited, that's where I'm really gonna, cross my T's, dot my I's, and analyze everything I possibly can. But from what I did go over, which was the first few rows of each skill tree, it felt pretty different per play style.
And then sound-wise, when you were firing like an SMG, a lot of games will adjust the tone when you get down to like your last 5 rounds with the last one going tink. So you'll hear like a bang, 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 and it adjusts the sound to indicate to the player that they're coming to the end of their clip. Did you notice anything? And that's a weird thing. It's just I like it.
Oh yeah.
Did you happen to pick up on any? Was there any tonal changes to that? Like,
Yes.
or was it more like, oh, I'm just out of bullets?
Specifically in my assault rifle, because there was one I had that was distinctly designed around an M1 Grand, and it was really cool to see that in Borderlands. Yeah, this almost World War II styled weapon in a futuristic set game.
Right.
And so, yeah, as I started, it was a semi-auto 14 bullet clip, and as you started to get around the 5 or 4 range, you hear it go from like to like
okay, awesome.
There was like a drop off, and then on the last bullet, if you didn't reload before that, but you hit the last bullet, it would do that like ding, and like you'd pop out the clip and slap another one in. It was really, really good. Like I said, there was a lot of data being transmitted through the sound that I think will go off under a lot of people's radars, rather. But it was super helpful. It was super helpful, and it was all natural, and guns sounded differently, felt differently. It was really, really well done sound.
Very cool. Yeah. That all sounds good to me.
Yeah, I think like I said, I think you're gonna have a really good time with the
audio.
I've
talked to the sound designer on Twitter a lot, and you know, I think you follow him too. He's shown like where he's out shooting guns at the range, and they're recording.
It's gotta be such a cool job.
Yeah, right. Like, hey, dude, what are you gonna do? I'm gonna shoot 1,000 rounds, right? But the idea that because people just don't realize, even subconsciously, somebody may not realize that's informing the gamer of the end of their clip. And a lot of guns will maybe somewhat adjust it, but I like it when it's pretty noticeable. So like a new person can. You may not even pick up on it, but your brain is counting bullets. I've been holding down the auto for 3 seconds, and you're like, I got to be coming near the end, and then you get that tick, 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 tick. And I love that when it climbs up, and you're like, okay, I'm definitely getting near the end, and then you can switch out early if you want, or if you're good, you can time that exact switch. So it sounds, from what I've seen of that guy and the discussions I've had with him on Twitter, I apologize, I can't remember his damn name. I just talked to him yesterday, but anyway. It sounds like that is at the very least one of the major aspects, which to me a gun-based game needs. So that's why I was asking, because it's a gun-based game. So if that kind of stuff isn't taken care of, then that's going to be one of the problems I would have, is game based around guns isn't taking these things into account.
And it's amazing how they design the audio in this game, because, for example, I thought probably the best audio this year so far that I've experienced is Mortal Kombat 11. The way they capture imagination and bring it into reality through that sound, the crunching of bones, the smushing of heads, it sounds almost in a cartoon fashion as you would expect. Whereas in Borderlands 3, it feels like they borrow from reality and put it into their universe.
Okay.
When I used that M1 Grand, I was like, oh shit, this is, I know what gun this is. It would be based off in real life, but it looks, feels, and plays completely differently. And to see, mini guns that turn into bipods and you can just stack them on something and let it rip. I mean, that you could see them pulling from all eras and then putting their own twist on it. It was, and a lot of that was distinguished through the sound too. So it was fantastic. It really was. All right. So that is our first segment, and now we move on to what really captured the internet outside of Borderlands 3, which was the Sonic movie. So I was off the internet the day this dropped. I was being a tourist, actually. I for some reason 2K flew me out a day early, so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna spend the day and do stuff in Hollywood and Santa Monica, and I went on Colin Moriarty's fireside chat, which was very cool. But while that was happening...
Did you get to record one?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. Very cool. Awesome.
Yeah, I think it's going live next week. I'll put an announcement out when it is live and let everyone know, because it was really good. It was a chat with him and I about, how I got started, some of my favorite games, but also how you build your business and what I did, the steps I took as, I'm 23, so I still have a lot left to learn, but, it was a really good chat to have between him and I.
Very cool. Very cool.
But while this was all going down, it dropped. The trailer dropped that morning. And so now we have a lot of people on the internet who were really upset with the concept of Sonic. He has teeth. He doesn't really look like him. And then we saw paintings doing over certain scenes and how much better it really looked. And now the Sonic director has vowed to change the Sonic the Hedgehog design. He says, "Thank you for the support and the criticism. The message is loud and clear. You aren't happy with the design and you want changes. It's going to happen. Everyone at Paramount and Sega are fully committed to making this character the best he can be. Hashtag Sonic movie. Hashtag gotta fix fast." Now, what was fascinating about this what was fascinating about this to me was less of the change, but the surprise people had when this originally, and who knows what it changes into, but when it looked like dog shit. And also, B, the backpedaling afterwards for people who felt like assholes because they torched the thing and they were like, oh, they're changing it now. But let me just let you know, I care about everyone who worked on this project, and I hope they're not suffering now and like being overworked because of our design decision or our thoughts on the design decisions. I'm like, give me a break. Please stop. You know, that's the shit that clearly people were not satisfied with the product. And yes, there have been times in the past where maybe there's been a concept that has bent the knee too quickly to the internet when it should have been explored properly. But I feel this is very painfully, obviously, one of those times that we should not have gone forth with it. But it might bite them in the ass a little bit, because I feel more people would have seen it because it looked bad, rather than now it's going to look like the right Sonic, hopefully. And more, I think less people are going to go, because it's not going to be as fun. It's going to be like it's traditional Sonic now.
Right.
So, you know, before I guess I continue onwards about the backpedaling and suddenly people giving a shit about what they write out there. And I was one who flamed the movie. I was like, why are we shocked this looks bad? What do you think about the movie, the changes, and people's responses to said changes now happening?
It looked like a fucking nightmare. It looked horrendous. And the fact that they didn't have a bunch of people in a room where some jackass who maybe was just a fucking paperboy was like, dude, Sonic looks like shit. I'm blown away that a bunch of people got together. No one was cognizant enough to look at that and say, dude, seriously, you just painted everybody's nightmares. Thank you for making it look live. Yeah. Like, it looked fucked up. It looked like Chewbacca in the Christmas special with his kids, and the kids smile and they have real human teeth. Like, it was a bad fucking idea. It makes Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles made by Michael Bay look good, which that requires a level of fucking talent that is beyond me. Yeah. So I get, but at the same time, I do understand where people are like, should we change? Cory Balrog, I'm pronouncing his last name wrong, I'm sure. But he said, wait, I'm not 100% sure. Now, remember, this has been a discussion around all skins, the color of people's skins in various games, the design of people's skins, buxom or not. This is not a first-time discussion. However, when you look at Sonic, he looked fucking terrifying. There's a difference between those discussions where, like, you know, people want inclusion or what have you, than this one, which just didn't look right.
Yeah.
There's something about it that you look at it and you go, listen, it's not making sure that, you know, people are validated for whatever. It's looking at it and going, that fucking looks wrong. And so I get what Cory was saying. I get what he was saying, but I personally feel that it looked messed up. And anybody who is a Sonic fan, I've talked about this before, you only have two ways to go. You look at it and say either they were incompetent and no one designed this, or they have no fucking clue what they're doing, which makes me even more worried. There's almost no way out of this discussion, which is sad.
I personally believe it was one of those situations where the artists, the people working on Sonic himself were going, this isn't good. We, you know, talking to the higher-ups, we need to scrap this, we need to redo this, we need more time, and the higher-ups are like, push it, put it out.
And then once the feedback came, they're like, okay, I guess everybody else is right.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel they're going to have to delay the movie because what's happening now is, think of all the marketing material based off that original Sonic, going to be scrapped. Think of all the scenes in the movie as well. I mean, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of redoing. And I feel like if they rush it out this year and try to redo parts of the movie with Sonic in it, which is the whole fucking movie, I like, oh my God, I shiver at the thought of what happens when people get like their hands on the Blu-rays and they actually get to watch frame by frame certain shit happen. Kind of like what happened with The Last Jedi, where you know, people first viewing, a decent amount of people were, this is pretty good. Second viewing, they're like, wait, what? And then third viewing, you know, people really started to break it down and go, oh wait, Rey suddenly doesn't have a knife in her back. That's interesting. Stuff like that, I feel, is going to happen with this movie, and I'm a little bit terrified for them. More now than before, where I was like, all right, it's going to be a bad movie. It's going to happen. Who gives a shit? But now...
I also think, though, Matty, that they probably are like, we'll eat that because they'd rather have a success and be able to make a series out of it.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
Right?
That's a really good point.
So let's say they make $150 million on a fucking nightmare. That's a scam. That's the typical way of doing it. You make your money and then you run the fuck off. But also, if they're looking at Avengers and all this shit that's got 85 movies based on, and they look at Sonic and they're like, wait a minute, we could spend up front $40 million to remake a bunch of stuff, but in the long run, people will like it more, possibly. And there's a higher chance of people wanting to return to it. Because there is a thing about, whether it be, the term when you look at an animal and you put human emotions to, I can't remember the term. Shit. But there's the idea of looking at something, you see this like half human, half Sonic versus something that, let's say, a little bit more cartoony. Humans have a tendency, whether it be like, it's not uncanny valley, but that's the word I'm going to use. But you look at it, something, you see it and you're all, this looks a little human, but not. It looked like Isle of Dr. fucking Moreau to me. It looked like some kind of weird amalgamation that actually made me a little disturbed. So I think there would have been more problems with that than them fixing it.
I just love the idea that you were like genuinely disturbed by it.
No, I was. No, dude, when I saw it, I actually was in voice chat and people posted it and I'm like, that is haunting. What the fuck is that? And somebody's like, that's the official. And then I argued with everybody. I'm like, no, it's impossible. That's the official. That's a deviant art. And they're like, no, that's what it actually looks like. And then I had to go online. I had seen Jim Carrey. He looks fine, by the way. I want to make sure it's Dr. Robotnik or whatever. Eggman. I think that's fine. But I didn't believe him. I flatly was having a huge argument in voice chat going like, there's fucking no way he looks like a nightmare, man. And I was wrong. And so, and I'm open to that. But yeah, I was quite disturbed by it. I'm not a big fan of the half human, half animal thing. It gives me the creeps. It's like everybody has a phobia. My phobia is like Isle of Dr. Moreau, humans and animals mixing kind of thing. And that's what it looked like with his little baby fucking... It looks like, as one of my friends said, it looks like a 7-year-old transformed halfway into a fucking hedgehog who's on LSD.
Yeah, that's the thing is Sonic is such an up and down thing because there'll be games like... I'll say Mania is one that a lot of people really liked. I really enjoyed Generations. You'll see, for example, they did a short on Christmas Day. It was a cartoon, and it was kind of adorable, and it was heartwarming. And you see, like, at times they just get Sonic. But then they do shit like this, and almost, the Twitter account with its edgy humor, and now this nightmare fuel concept of Sonic. Like, I thought they were just banking on, all right, Sonic's a meme now. Let's just fuck it up. That's literally, I'm not even kidding. That's why when I did see the trailer, the first thing I wrote was, my question is why? But not why about the trailer. Why are we surprised this is the route they took? Have we seen the shit they put out? And Sonic Forces, like, just...
Here's why.
Ugh.
Though, I agree with you, but I think that people see... I brought this up earlier. I think it's because people see things like Spider-Verse, Into the Spider-Verse do such a good job, but still look different. That there is room for success. And so I get what you mean by why are we surprised, but I think one of the reasons is because we do see successes elsewhere. Not with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and not as easily with CGI where something's mixing between the two. But I think we're getting accustomed to seeing success. And so when you do see such a blatant visual failure of not only that, but dude, okay, I'll imagine this, Maddie. Let's replace Sonic. Imagine Mario looking like that. Huge nose, fucking rotund fat. You'd be mortified.
Yeah.
You'd fucking run from the screen. Children would cry. Nobody'd want to eat during the movie. That's what Sonic would have... Dude, imagine if you were fucking having your jujubes or whatever those fucking candies are, and you're sitting in the movie, and that thing shows up. Gotta go fast. And you'd be like, yeah, as in leave. Because that's fucking haunting. There's nobody who's going to want to sit in there. So... to me, it makes sense. I get exactly what you mean. Like, why are we surprised? But it's because we've had some successes. CGI is so high. Deep fakes are possible. We see fucking, deep fakes where it looks like a real movie star in porn, or we see Obama saying shit he didn't say. So it's like, if you can do that, why can you not make Sonic? Dude, and his eyes aren't even right. Look at the fucking picture of his eyes. They're like, I can't tell who he's looking at. He looks like he's looking at the screen, and he's like a chameleon, where they have the ability to move both eyes at the same time. No, fuck. By the way, never take me to a movie. Because of this kind of shit, this is the kind of shit I think when I'm sitting there. I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
Just too much idle time in our hands, our
way too much idle time. Way too much idle time.
Because my girlfriend tells me all the time, she's like, I have to watch movies with you. I'm like, why? She's like, because you just don't focus during them. I'm like, what the fuck do you mean? And like, as I do that, I proceed to go on Twitter. I'm like, yeah, because we were watching World War Z, and I was like, whatever. But I guess, yeah, sometimes I suck at watching movies. I did really well this week, though. I watched 3 different movies. Bumblebee, I watched Holmes and Watson, which fucking sucked. That was such
that one.
Anti-funny movie. Anti-funny movie.
Ooh.
And I was like, I was seeing the Will Ferrell, and I forgot the other guy's name, from Step Brothers. I'm like, oh, what a duo. I remember loving Step Brothers, and I was like, here we go. Holmes and Watson.
And they're great friends in real life, so you think.
Like, there's a chemistry, and just, I did not laugh once. Yeah. And then I also watched Aquaman. That was pretty good, too.
Oh, pretty good.
Aquaman was pretty good.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Only pretty good?
I thought the
the
character development in the beginning was rushed. I think it was like on a course being off a DC movie, and then they clearly repurposed him. I was like, okay, slow down, and they took their time with it, and like you could feel that transition happen. Like 30 minutes in, it settled in. It was like, oh yeah, now this is pretty good.
The best part of Aquaman, bro, is when that guy shows up and he's like, "Hey man, are you Fish Boy?" And he fucking gets up, and it shows him like looking solid during the first 3 selfies, and then it degenerates to them drunk and in arm wrestling matches. And I was like, that's when I was all, I think they get it. Like, I actually think they understand. Best DC movie, by the way. But that's because, I mean, that's like comparing terrible shits to a fucking fine meal. Like, the other movies have sucked. So I think it was the best DC movie. But I get what you mean.
I was looking at the chat. A lot of people are talking about Detective Pikachu as like a video game movie breakthrough. Oh, you didn't think that looked cool? I thought the Pokemon looked solid. There were some of them that like I think Pokemon gets a bit of a free pass, and I'm not saying I give it that. But for example, I thought Jigglypuff looked fucking, as you would say, disturbing. Like I vomited in my mouth slightly when I saw it.
They also teased it though.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen the trailer. They actually joke about what he looks like. It's like Ted, if you've seen Ted with Mark Wahlberg. They tease what he looks like, and that worked. Sonic never appeared to look like they were going to tease what he looked like. It looks like they were going to take it
just
deadly serious.
In that one marketing post that leaked. But yeah, man, like some Pokemon in that movie, as Azimoto said, look good, and some look horrible. And everyone's like memeing Jigglypuff in a funny way, a good way, like a positive thing. Oh, look at the Jigglypuff's little curl on her head, and I'm like, stop! Like this thing looks fucking insane. Like this does not look good. But because it's Pokemon and it's Nintendo, it gets a free pass.
It looks like a subreddit for nightmares.
Yeah,
like that's the problem. Is some of them look good, by the way, but I think that they did
very good. Yeah,
I think that trailer, they joked for a brief second about him being like looking at it, going like, "What the fuck?" And to me, I'm like, once you do that, you sort of have a free pass. As somebody just said, if you're self-aware, and that is the difference. Is that Sonic was stunningly not so.
Yeah, but it's looking like a really good movie. We got some bits coming in. Where's Lone and Noah?
You're just brand new to this?
Yeah, you might. Yeah, he said, where's Lone and Noah? Can't do Ham Radio live without them. Yeah, he might be in reference to the one time we did do this live.
Oh, the one time
you and I. Yeah, we did that together, and it was a train wreck. Quick story time is that I told Karak when we were first going live, I was like, I'm kind of nervous because the chat was so distracting to Lone and Noah. Not that we can't read the chat, but like they were just sitting there staring at it, and like let's say I was doing it right now, he'd be like, "Oh, and Bearded Panda says no side hook is Nightmare Fuel." Oh, Mike Fury says laugh my ass off. Super Nit, like like Lone and Noah were just reading everything. I'm like, guys, topics, and then we started talking about politics.
Have some CBD gummies or something prior to it. Yeah, be like, oh, so anyway, sometimes chat can get a little intrusive.
I know
if you pay too much attention.
I know, but the great guys, but that live thing was just, oh god. If someone could find that episode, that'd be great, because you'll hear me, like I said, at one point, Lone and Noah start going into politics, and I'm like trying to just keep us on
like, where
course.
Are we, guys?
I'm like, guys, no, not there, don't go there, please. But anyway, if someone wants to find that episode, maybe it was episode 100, I don't know, but 100 was when Lone and Noah came back together. I don't know what episode it was, but if that's our community challenge. Anyway, we're going to move on to our next topic. This one is Kingdom Hearts DLC, completely different from the Sonic movie. So, Kingdom Hearts got its DLC announcement at a, I believe, let's see here. I think it was a community orchestra-styled event. Yes, Kingdom Hearts Orchestra World of Trace performance in Tokyo. New DLC was announced for Kingdom Hearts 3. according to concert goers. According to the people who said that it was announced, the DLC is called Remind and it will feature both paid and free components. Pardon me. Those who pay for the free DLC or the premium DLC, I said pay for the free DLC, jeez, will receive an additional Remind scenario, 2 new episodes and bosses, and an English voice acting option for the Japanese version. In addition, everyone will receive a new Keyblade and form for free. According to subsequent tweets from Yanolin Gaming, who was in attendance, Nomura presented this information in a funny little PowerPoint presentation and said that pricing and release timing has yet to be determined and that more details will come in June. So likely during Square Enix's E3 presentation, which we talked about last week. And it's funny because we just said last week, we were like, yeah, Kingdom Hearts DLC is going to be a part of that. So 0.1 for us on the prediction score. But anyway, so an additional Remind scenario, 2 new episodes. So they're and a boss that apparently is excruciatingly hard, they described it as. So I'm guessing that they're probably going to add Sephiroth back as the really hard boss. I'd be shocked if not, because Lingering Will is no longer a thing from Kingdom Hearts 2. I don't know what the Remind scenario would be. I'm good friends with the Gamers Joint, Cynical, who covers like Kingdom Hearts exclusively, and I saw him tweeting about how it might be something with Ventus and Roxas, or I think something along those lines. 2 new episodes. They might take the route of Final Fantasy 15, where it kind of continued the story afterwards, where like individual characters are filled in blanks. And without spoiling anything, I think by the end of the story, they have 2 characters they can do episodes on. Like I said, I don't want to go more into that. But for you, what do you think about the DLC? Anything catch your attention? Completely uninterested? What would you?
Yeah, you sound like you're fucking casting a spell in Harry Potter when you're talking. You're like raucous and fierous and crotchous. I have no clue half of the fucking dudes you're talking about. You're just throwing.
Yeah, I realized as I was looking at you, you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, you're like Crotchimus Maximus is returning with his fucking firebrand, and I'm like, dude, I have no goddamn clue what he's talking about. I don't know if I'll ever get a chance to return to that game, unfortunately. Like, just unless I don't know, something weird happens where I decide to do a video on it or art styles. So to me, it's cool that people get it, but I will probably never I don't think I'll ever interact with it, unfortunately.
I thought it was really small for what is still the #1 selling game of the year.
You think the DLC package is small?
I mean, they said a scenario, which I don't know how big that would be. But 2 episodes, which if we're going off Final Fantasy 15, which did episodic style DLC, like they call it Episode Noctis, for example, that's usually like 3 hours. So you got 2 of those.
Right, but Final Fantasy needed it because remember their story didn't make sense when it first shipped.
Yeah, sure didn't.
Versus this one, you know what I mean?
Oh, we can't say Kingdom Hearts makes sense though. That's
Oh, that's true. That's true. Kingdom Hearts makes sense if you can time travel and you fucking can play half the game at the starting, then jump in the middle, and then finish at the end.
Yeah,
that is true. You're right. I didn't think about that.
I mean, someone just said, Day the Lead said, episode Goofy. Yeah, fuck it, why not? Sephiroth 3. Yeah, we'll go with that too. They could go crazy with it, but I feel like they're just going to hopefully fill in blanks and not try to add more. But yeah, Kingdom Hearts DLC is coming. They just released their critical mode update, so if you want to play the game on a legitimately hard difficulty, unlike the base game, which was stupendously easy.
Easy.
Holy shit.
Do you think that was
a baby?
Do you think that was a... I don't know. Babies are pretty talented these days. Do you think? Do you think that was done to get more fans in to the game?
I feel like
do you think that was like, oh,
your
story doesn't make sense, but it's going to be easy, so you might as well play it?
That's the thing. I just feel like these big dogs in the business just look at some consumers and either we talked about this during the Borderlands section. Go like, oh, they're idiots. They're not going to be able to distinguish microtransactions versus paid cosmetics. Haha.
Tiny purchases.
Yeah, word plays. And in this situation, I feel like they're treating consumers as an idiot in the sense of, oh, they're 8 years old. They love Disney. Therefore, let's make this stupidly easy because this series did not completely grow off of teenagers and young adults playing it. Like that's where it found all of its growth because it was a Final Fantasy and Disney crossover originally. Final Fantasy was definitely more of a teenage to adult style game. It wasn't something that little kids were playing. And so I think they just tried to, blanket the entire game and go, all right, easy mode because kids, and I'm sure plenty of kids did buy it.
Well, and there's a dichotomy when you have to have a 3-hour video on describing a story for a Disney game.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's a dichotomy
Disney
there
movies,
saying,
for those who don't know.
Yeah. So what you end up having is you end up having this dichotomy, and I think I feel like at least in some way they were like, let's make this easy. That way people who don't or are young don't need to know the story as much. They can have fun as these Disney characters, and then maybe, because I also noticed that even if you turned up the difficulty, nothing really, it was never really hard.
No.
So this is adding that, obviously.
It does.
Which is cool. Even though I've never believed in DLC being a difficulty, but Breath of the Wild, you can fuck off with your difficulty. Ranger and
this one's
Metro.
free though. I think didn't you have to pay?
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying the difference here is it's free,
Yeah.
which is nice. Which it wasn't in Metro. I think you bought it with no. Wait a minute. No. I'm sorry. Metro was free too. Wasn't it?
Yeah, I think
Metro Exodus, the Ranger mode was
Plus. I think wasn't Ranger mode in the base game. I think. I could be
something
wrong.
with Metro. Yeah, I could be wrong too. Anyway.
And then, Armor Muffin brought up survival mode in Fallout 4, which was a really good example of, something that gave the game kind of a second life down the road.
Sure.
I think that was April after the game came out that they dropped that, and that was a nice surprise that they fine-tuned that. But that's the thing, man, is that a lot of these games leave the difficulty for later. And I guess with the way titles are structured nowadays, I almost can't... How do I word it? I don't want to say, like, there's a lack of blame there, but it almost allows you to have a fully functioning single-player game, but also do extensive content with the title, like most DLCs, where most people will not have had the game done in a weekend or a week, like some of us hardcore gamers or people who have jobs, what have you. So by the time they do get around to beating it, and let's say they're that person who buys, a handful of games a year, not a ton, when that DLC does drop, it might be coming at the right time rather than they beat it, it's baked into their product, and they're like, all right, I want something new. You get what I'm saying? It almost keeps them involved in the Game X ecosystem when they're supporting it with replayability later rather than having it in the base game.
Also, do you ever feel, Matty, has this ever happened where you've stopped a game? I've stopped a game because it's too difficult, but I've never stopped a game because it's too easy. And so I think right now you're getting the weirdness where you get these games that are really difficult for almost no reason. It's like every game, the Dark Souls of fucking puzzle games, the Dark Souls of Pokemon, what the fuck ever. Like everybody's trying to do. So I feel like these guys were just like, you know what? We'll worry about that later. Mm-hmm. Like, and we'll let people experience it for what they get out of it, which is, I don't think I know anybody who played it. You and I talked about it and we were like, man, it's pretty easy. But I never was like, even when I was playing it and I didn't get a chance to review it, I wasn't like gonna stop because it was easy. But if I had hit some, or if it was incredibly difficult, there is a chance that you could just be like, I'm bouncing off this title. There's multiple things bothering me plus the difficulty. So I think for a company like these guys, Disney, cartoon-based, third in a series of, 18th in a series, I have no clue because they have all the weird fucking 33 and a third bullshit names. But I think for them, it was smart. They're just like, okay, we'll make it a little bit easier and we'll worry about the difficulty later. I don't really know many people who stop a game because it's easy. I mean, maybe they lack the challenge, but they still play a lot of it.
It's not an easy game, but normally with a FromSoft game, I get looped in because of a combination of a wonderful atmosphere, cool environments,
because it's FromSoft though,
and but also the difficulty. I want to beat it. But with Sekiro, I didn't really get looped in because of its challenge. In fact, I thought the early going, the first 5 hours or so, was pretty easy compared to the rest. And I eventually did put it down partially because I said I was not getting hooked into it. And when I did die, I go on to explain how a lot of the takedowns in that game are stealth focused, and repeating stealth segments to me it reminds me of a PS2 game. And it's like, it feels very dated in that sense. While it's obviously not, or doesn't play like that, that's a game that initially was easy, and given the studio's reputation, I did put it down in part to that, but it's not the main reason.
But that's just the one. Like that, if you ignore that it's FromSoft and you look at all other games, has there been a game that's not from them that you weren't expecting the difficulty of a certain level? Has there been a game where you've ever looked and been like, it's just too easy? I mean, also you and I play games for a living, but I mean, for the most part, has that ever happened to you? Because it really hasn't happened to me. I will mention it and be like, listen, This thing is fucking
I've never put a game down because it was too easy, and I think it's because when a game gets too hard, it's less of the frustration and more so is the game fucking me up fairly.
Yeah, we're gonna steal all your weapons halfway through the game.
Oh yeah, the worst thing ever. Oh,
worst design ever.
Yeah,
it's like, hey, you just got all this shit. Guess what? Not anymore.
Deus Ex. Son of a
Multiple
bitch.
games.
That moment scarred me, man. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we move on to yet another segment. Hold on, I need to find my timestamp. Where the hey is it? Here we are. All right, so anyway, we are going to talk about Nintendo a little bit now. Nintendo made an announcement earlier this week that they're not going to be bringing brand new hardware to E3, and the speculation, of course, has been like Nintendo's going to do a much more highly powered version of the Switch, and one that's portable in the sense of it's just one machine. Yeah, it's not like you remove the Joy-Cons and all that stuff. It's just something you slip into your pocket. But anyway, as a general rule, we're always working hard on new hardware, and we will announce it when we are able to sell it, Furukawa says to investors, according to a translation from Bloomberg. But we have no plans to announce that at this year's E3. So the phrasing is key, according to Game Informer, because Furukawa all but says new hardware is coming, but he specifically says don't look for it at E3. So it is happening. It's just a matter of when. I'd imagine sometime in August, July, we'll get an announcement. And the reason I say it's going to be that much later in the year, I mean, it could happen earlier, but it's because the Switch has already established itself. You're getting ready for that holiday push at that point in time. Imagine they release a budget version of the Switch. Hey, for $199, you can have a Switch, and then for another $60, you pick up a game, or you bundle that together for a $250 bundle with that with that cheaper Switch and a game on top of it. I think that could be huge for them in the holiday period, personally.
So not a more powerful one, but a more budget one.
That's what I'd expect.
More people
I feel like if they do for example, a new 3DS XL or whatever with remember how they added like the little nub to the and stuff, and they made games exclusive for it that only could use that. I feel like that could separate the market a little bit too early.
Reason to do it in this day and age.
I feel like it's way too early for that. And
how about this, bro? How about a better battery?
Oh yeah, I mean unless you get the thing that we got, I use that on the plane, and holy smokes. Yeah, I
use it all the time. What about a better battery, more RAM maybe? Mm-hmm. Not RAM, I'm sorry, but you know what I mean. Memory for your your games.
Yeah, I'd like that. And if they added more power to it, hopefully it would help games like it's not out yet, but I played the demo for Daemon X Machina that just ran like shit. It did not play well. It did not feel good. It looked awful. Like that's a game that clearly was A, not optimized well for the Switch, but B, it may have thought a little. I wouldn't even say thought too big, because you have Breath of the Wild, which looks great and is huge and deep. So I'd say just Daemon X Machina wasn't optimized properly, and maybe a stronger system makes that process a little bit easier.
Dude, Dragon's Dogma runs so well.
Does that run at 60 FPS?
No, that's a 30.
Okay, yeah, I didn't think so. I figured I'd ask. So that's a game that doesn't chug at all?
No. Well, a couple times right at starting when you meet the first dragon before the story outlines you becoming the Arisen. And you're just sort of you fight the Chimera, and you see the dragon up the corner. That dropped at like 26, I think, and from then on it petered sometimes, but that game ran really well enough that my opinion is that Capcom most likely is working with other third-party development teams for the Switch, and they're passing on optimization stuff because dude, that didn't even run well on the Xbox X or the Xbox original and the PS4 when its remake came out. Mm-hmm. There were FPS issues at times on that. Also ported from the PC, Matty, not the consoles. Yeah. So the Switch version is ported from the PC with all its bug fixes and better textures into the Switch, which I think helped it as well.
Yeah, it's a matter of when. So yeah. I do hope that what they do announce is worthwhile. I imagine it's going to be a Switch Mini. I saw Armored Muffin say, Switch Mini. I feel like that's what it's mainly going to be. I don't think they're going to announce a more powerful version, if I'm honest, because I think the Switch is, I don't want to say fine as is, but I feel it would be better to wait 2-3 years, announce a more powerful version of the Switch that does play its exclusive games, because now you've cultivated a fan base that is a part of your ecosystem and is ready at that point for the next step, where there is still, and every day there's always people getting their first Switches, of course. But by that point, you'll have enough people in your system who were early adopters, who maybe got it this year, who got it next year, who have been playing long enough where once that time comes and they're saying, hey, $350, here's another version of the Switch, much more powerful, and you can play this, this, and that now with it, and these games are updated for it, kind of like a PS4 Pro almost, that half step for it. I feel like that would sell better for them and be more well received too, because let's say they announce a more powerful version and someone just got their Switch a couple months ago just for Smash Brothers, right? It just came out and like maybe they were a little bit late to it, got some Christmas money together, and they got Smash Brothers Ultimate. And imagine a month later, Nintendo's like, or 2 months later rather, they go, yeah, here's our new Switch. It can play this, that. It's much cooler than the shit you have right now. Go buy it. Rather than announcing early in its cycle a cheaper version, a more budget version.
Let me switch the entire conversation around and why I'm telling you right now I do not believe a mini's coming.
Okay.
Because you have a bunch of docks out there, and unless they sell you an adapter for your dock, for your mini, the number of people with fucking Switch docks, can you imagine having 2 docks, a new one and an old one, or having, like, there are some peripherals. You're not going to sell a Joy-Con that's different, because that would be ridiculous. So
do you mean like different color Joy-Cons and stuff? Or?
No, I mean different sized ones for a mini. Like if they decided to change that. So the only way to make it mini is to do this. And guess what? That won't work in your fucking dock right now. So to me, I think a mini is not as easy as people think. Additionally, I don't think most people wake up and go, the Switch is definitely portable. Because guess what? You're lying to yourself unless you're a carpenter and you have carpenter pants. The mini, the normal Switch is not a portable. It is a small handheld system, but it is not necessarily as portable as people like to pretend it is. So to me, a mini runs into the issues of using your current items, including your Joy-Cons, right? And then your normal one. And so to me, the identification of a Pro makes more sense because they might still have the screen be the same size, might just put more power into it. But a mini is difficult for you to sell me.
Okay.
I would find that quite difficult as a sale. More so than a Pro.
Then my counter would be, this is how I imagine the Switch Mini would be. Think of, okay, how do I describe it? It's all connected, right? Like the Joy-Cons are a part of this thing. Like you can't detach them. And what it comes with, rather, is almost like a 3DS. It just comes with an adapter that you plug into the wall and you lay your Switch on its back and it charges through the wall, rather than having it dock. Because I imagine the Switch Mini will be designed for that portable aspect, so you can take it wherever you want to go. So you're not going to be worrying about, you're not going to need a dock to charge it, because you're not going to be docking your Switch Mini.
Dude, so you're saying
it's just a handheld system. Like
that's a lot of money for a fucking non-dockable Switch, though, Matty.
But I feel like
non-dockable?
If they're making it smaller, do you think like they're cutting costs somewhere where it would be cheaper?
No, because you're talking about plastic versus silicone. You're talking about making it hold the same power, but in a smaller form factor, trying to keep the battery the same. There's a lot of.
I think it could be like the 2DS.
2DS.
You know, that's like
in
that
what way?
Flat, just one piece of technology holding it all together. I feel like that's what they're gonna do. Just that one
non-dockable,
charger through the wall, like a standard handheld system. Make it $200, because what that does is every person who's holding on to their 3DS right now, they're switching.
I have no problem.
They are switching
with
literally.
I have no problem. Wow.
I know, right?
That's a bad
me
pun.
Too.
I have no problem with the idea of a mini, but I would if it was non-dockable. So people were asking what type of thing Maddie and I have. Can't read the name of that. Can you read the name?
Big blue battery case for Switch.
Big blue battery case, also charges a cell phone, 10,000 mAh with a fucking, what do you call it? A stand, and clips in like a son of a bitch. Like you never have to worry about your Switch coming out. That thing is amazeballs, and it's only $29. And I will never, ever, ever use my Switch without it. Anyway, long story short,
and longer game sessions with it are possible.
Way longer. Yeah, it's insane how much better that battery is. I get what you're saying. I don't know, dude. I don't know. Like, I get what you're saying, but the idea of removing the dockability of it, some people are going to want to play docked. Why would you sell the Pro then? For example, why the Pro is what they want to sell because it costs so much money anyway. Those fuckers. The Pro's like, what is it? Like $180. That's what it feels like, but it's only like 69, I think, for the Pro controller.
Right.
But why would you, for a mini? Now it's this big. You're putting it in front of you. It's not dockable. Then they lose the possibility of a sale of the Pro. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I guess I'll just say there's trade-offs for both. There's big trade-offs for both.
B. Davis made a good point of why are we not putting it past the company to make their customers buy 2 docks?
In no way, shape, or form am I.
Yeah. I didn't think you were, but I'm just saying, like, that's a good point in general. Just that I feel like, yeah, they won't think twice if they're like, hey, you got 2 docks. Give one to your friend.
Or they'll switch it to the little USB, like, I don't know if you have one of these, Matty, but I have like a USB 3 thing where you plug it in and splits it to multiple USB devices. Yeah. I could see them being, here's your mini dock. You know, like, it's just a little wire you plug it in. It's a messy,
like a phone charger.
That's messy,
almost. Like, you just plug it into the bottom of the Switch. And yeah, it's not the cleanest way, but it becomes, like I said, I feel like that will replace 3DS, any owners out there with it. Because I think the 3DS has like 65 million owners or something like that.
Yeah, they want to hit that, for sure.
Yeah, and I feel like the Switch Mini would be crushing that entire audience.
Would the Switch Mini still have thumbsticks?
That's the one thing I was thinking about. If you're going to make it dockable, with your original dock, I think you remove that somehow. I don't know how, but you do. It's impossible, though, no, because so many games have thumbsticks and D-pad capabilities. So I don't think they do. That's why I think it's just going to be a charger, you plug it into the wall.
Okay, gotcha.
So.
Interesting. That's interesting, man. Oh, yeah, you bet, Backlog Gamer. Yeah, you need to get that thing, man. If you have a Switch, trust me, do not buy a Switch without buying this battery pack thing. And there's multiple companies that do it, but this is the best one I've seen. And it also, by the way,
it's very like it's like bulky. So
that's what I was gonna say. Is it's like it feels like it protects the, like, if I drop the Switch, I actually feel like this has a chance of making sure the screen won't hit first because it is back heavy a little bit, and that would take the damage. And it's $29 for a major battery. I mean, I've spent LA Noire. I've played for at minimum 3 times longer than normal with that battery plugged in. So anyway, long story short, the Mini, I get what you mean. It's just a lot of caveats. How about that? No matter what way we go, you're trading something.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there would be a trade-off with power of some kind. All right. Next on the list, I actually don't have the actual numbers up, for World War Z. If you wouldn't mind.
1.2 million. Yeah, let me look.
All right, cool. Anyway, we're going to be talking about World War Z, which has found tremendous success over on the Epic Games Store. We're going to talk about why that's the case, but Karak's going to summon the numbers for us.
Yeah, so VentureBeat, and this is from April 23rd. The rumor I heard was it's already at a 1.2 or 1.3 million, but it says zombie games can still bring in big sales as publisher Focus Home Interactive and developer Saber announced that their co-op shooter, as of 9 days ago, sold more than 1 million copies since its April 16th launch on PC, PS4, and Xbox One.
That's one game I can confidently say I fucking knew it would do well. I remember...
Oh, did you?
I remember sending a fucking trailer of it, the Tokyo trailer, into my chat, and I said, there's got to be hype for this game.
Oh, no, I saw that post. Yeah. I saw your post.
I was like, there's got to be
you asked me
people who will care about this, because just the presentation of the hordes, even if you've played horde games before, which this game very much is just zombie hordes, the way they present it to you and the set pieces are addicting, fun to replay, and always enticing. But anyway, 1+ million sales for World War Z, a game that did go exclusively with the Epic Games Store. Now, I'm going to say first and foremost that this wasn't a game that, from what I am aware of, unless it happened underneath the table and we were not made aware of it, it wasn't like a big Steam release. And when it caught attention and it was already on Epic, I think there was less kickback because it wasn't this big transfer for a lot of people who already had their pre-orders out on Steam.
Yeah, agreed.
I also think that a big part of its success is the fact that it hit at the right time. I think there's been a lot of people dying for some type of Left 4 Dead experience, one that is solid but looks a little different. It's not this first-person shooter; it's a third-person shooter. It's not the same set of guns. There are classes, and those classes are better with certain things. There is a leveling up system. There is gun customization, quality of life enhancements, which are core features, but they're quality of life enhancements for a genre that's sort of gone stale. And so you combine that with the presentation I mentioned earlier. And also, yes, Mike Fury mentioned, because of the movie, that's a popular name. I feel it's really late where it almost separates itself entirely.
Yeah, it's late enough that I don't know.
Yeah.
And the movie wasn't good. So I don't know
I enjoyed the movie. I'm not going to lie.
I liked it, but it didn't do well. It didn't, fucking do gangbusters. It did well enough to get a sequel at some point.
Yeah. So now with all of that out there, are you happy with these sales? Why do you think it did so well? General thoughts.
I think it did so well because a lot of people surprisingly liked it. Like, I was going to forums.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, I'm going to just compare these two real quick because I'm sure we'll talk about Days Gone. But when you look at Days Gone, I saw a thread that was over 100-page long where they said, let's not be divisive and let's just talk about the positive stuff. And within 7 posts, they were arguing over what they thought was positive, which was hilarious. But with World War Z, the number of people I've talked to who are just like, whoa, this game is just fun. I got a lot of hate for liking that game. I mean,
really?
Fucking Karak sold out because it's an Epic.
That
dude.
happens to me. Any game that's on the Epic Store that I end up liking. When I announced I was going to play Borderlands 3, they're like, wait, just sell to the Epic Store. I'm like, I don't even have a creator code there. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Sorry, go on though.
No, it's just everybody I've talked to, regardless of all the other stuff, fun matters. And the number of people I've talked to who are like, holy shit, this game is it is actually fun.
Mm-hmm.
Left 4 Dead, I get why people compare the two, but Left 4 Dead's so old now that, like, many people buying this game.
Yeah.
Dude, not only that, but everybody I played it with had never played Left 4 Dead. That's how long Left 4 Dead's been out.
When you mentioned that.
It's a generation ago. Yeah. And so we always get caught up in these Book of Woe Dwarven hates where it's like, I'm going to remember every fucking thing you did. And I'm going to remember this game in 1994, which was better. Guess what? A fucking ton of people are playing games that never played that game. And those people are having a blast. And that's why I think, number one, it did well. Number two, Epic's discoverability. Bro, I go to Steam, and if I don't click on that tile as Steam is going through and I forget to click on it, there's 8 other games that come and click. Guess what? On Epic, regardless of all the other shit I hate, because I hate a fucking bunch of stuff on that store, it's always there. You click on it, and it's like, boom. World War Z. And the discoverability is instant. There isn't even a search. It's just right fucking there. So it's so much easier. Consoles, it was at a cheaper price, Maddie. People always forget.
Yeah, $40.
Always forget the price. And it was at a price that hit perfectly. If that had been 60, it would have been a different discussion. Way different discussion if that had been 60 bucks.
Well, because what it encourages in a sense is it's co-op, so for every 1 copy sold, you may end up increasing that to 2 within the same party because, oh, dude, let's get World War Z. I don't know, man. Oh, come on, it's co-op. Well, it's $40. That's it, right there. Like, that's the combo. That's music to so many people's ears. And it's why you see games like, for example, A Way Out, which was okay. I'd say it was, I don't say this in a negative way, but like worse than World War Z. But because it was co-op, because it was affordable, and had a great purchasing option for consumers where you buy one get one free pretty much, it sold quite well. And that's why I personally believe that the new Wolfenstein game is going to do very well because it does have that similar purchasing scheme. It does undercut the competition, and it is co-op. It's a new way to really succeed.
Yep. It's, dude, and I got to talk to somebody who was had worked on it, and they were like, you just don't understand how happy we are. Like, it's a small company. Saber is not huge. They've done a couple things. They were behind the technology of the Xbox 360 Halo. The what do you call it? The technology of switching between the old version and the new version, and they did the engine. Cool. And they've done some small stuff. They've done some somewhat big stuff, but this was like they believed in it. They were all, you know what? This is a big deal, and we actually think we can hit a certain price point and actually cause people to want to come back. Also, free DLC, Tokyo, 2 or 4 new missions.
The new roadmap that came out, that's all free.
The new road, and I mean, it's fun, Maddie. Like, it's every time I talk to somebody about playing a game, most of them are like, hey, you know what? Let's play World War Z, which I'm going to be honest, after a week, usually that doesn't happen. People have moved on. And instead, I still have people saying, hey, man, I want to, try to make it through this level and do this or do that. And fun matters. People want to pretend it doesn't, but fun factor's such a fucking huge deal. And ignoring that that's what I do in a review, I'm saying you do it too. But if you,
I don't do like a fun factor, but like
but you talk about it.
Yeah, cover fun.
What's
for sure.
fun to you? And people, especially in reviews, have got away from it. And so on a game like this that speaks to people, you see people talking about it. Even my tweets, I'll tweet about it. People are like, "Holy shit, this game is actually fun." And then once somebody sees that, they're like, "Well, okay, I'll check into it." And then they see $40 or $20 and they're like, shit, I'll get it. And
well, that's the thing, is that we lose sometimes in the conversation of stories, representation, and all that stuff in games. Number one reason it's played from day one with Pong and shit, Pac-Man.
It's fun.
It's fun. It's fun. It's stress relieving. It takes you to a new world. It is fun. And I think World War Z is fun. And I'm glad that they're doing a free DLC content roadmap. Shows just how much that Epic money helps with you. I mean, dude, think about this. This game sells beyond their wildest dreams. They're not getting the Epic backlash that everyone else is getting, and they have the Epic money deal. Like, oh man, they must be just fucking laughing it up there. Not like nefariously, but
no. But the rumor I heard too was that, and this is a rumor, was that they were actually going to be happy in the 2.5 to 500. Oh, a little bit like Vampire. Oh, where remember Vampire said, "Hey, we'll be happy at 500,000. We'll probably make our money back." And I would assume this cost even less than Vampire. Vampire had all the voice acting. This one's got some, but not to that level. So, dude, I bet you they. I mean, the rumor I heard was that they oversold by a good amount, and that not only that, but the feedback, even with the bugs on the PS4 version, the feedback has been really positive.
Yeah, the chat was sounding off with some options for like $30 games, and it kind of brought up another topic in mind. They're talking about Mordhau, which is a $30 game. According to B. Davis, the most fun he's had with multiplayer this year, and Armored Muffin agreed that it was so good. I actually watched Robbie of Open World Games. I was sitting next to him at the bar, and he was looking at gameplay for it, and it kind of reminded me of medieval chivalry warfare.
It is, very much so.
And but what I thought of when looking at that price tag for that type of game is instead of, for example, a group of gamers who play together getting one game like Division 2 for $60, which is going to sell well on its own, you can now get World War Z and Mordhau, we'll say, for example,
for the same price.
Exactly. Yep. Risk of Rain as well. That's a great example. Shadow Calig. Jeez, some of your gamer tags. You guys got to capitalize the beginning of each new word, like Armored Muffin. Sometimes it's like all just one word.
I don't even try. I'll read and I'll be like, I'm sure I mispronounced that. Yep. But I think that the 30, anywhere from 20 to 50, there's a different thought process that goes into some gamers' minds. That's why I like to do the buy wait for sale, because I can go like, hey, at this cost, or State of Decay, Game Pass, $1. Like, should should you, just because it's there, possibly download it, because that's pretty much all it's costing you is electricity for downloading the fucking thing. And with this one, I think same thing with Mordhau. They both have technical issues. Mordhau's had a ton of shit with its servers. PS4 version of World War Z had a ton of shit, but people look over it for the price, and or will look beyond that for the price and go, what am I getting out of it, versus 60 where there's an expectation of perfection.
Right.
There really is, dude. At $59.99, people are like, listen, this fucker better work out of the gate. When it's 19, there's a lot more that you can
There's just more.
Just sort of accept.
Armored Muffin said. He said if it's $30 and fun, you get a lot more slack from me. Like, I think that the leash isn't as tight around your neck at that point.
Yeah.
Well, what made me most happy about this, though, was the publisher tied to this who benefits from it all. Focus Home, who, you and I have talked probably 3 weeks in a row on how they're always doing something that we're just jazzed about. And this month, they're releasing a title they're publishing called A Plague Tale: Innocence, I believe.
Dude.
And it looks pretty cool. Like, once again, another really fucking cool-ass concept that they're publishing. For those who are wondering, they just did like a gameplay overview trailer, but it's kind of, and Karak, you're going to hate this comparison, but I got a little bit of Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons vibes. A little bit, but it seemed more gameplay driven because you're using that ball and chain or whatever to knock out guards. It's about shifting light around levels to keep rats off of you, and you're protecting your younger brother who's now been afflicted. And it seems like more of an emotionally driven adventure, not this rapid, super fast gameplay. But yeah, that's another published title coming from this studio, and I mean, every time they have, it's like the how Bethesda was to me, and they still kind of are with their published titles. But you know, the way that I see a Focus Home on a game, I'm like, yes, it's my dog's turn now. By the way, if anyone couldn't tell, but I just love seeing their name on a game because it piques my curiosity instantly.
Yeah, well, honestly, Focus Home is like Deep Silver without the bullshit.
Yeah,
Deep Silver, like Deep Silver used to be like this, and I'm not saying that they don't release good games, but Focus Home, it's like
Dead Island.
Back in the day, back in the day when it wasn't all a PR scam. Sorry, I have some hatred for some things going on there, but like when you look at Focus Home, you're just like, and some of the shit's not great.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. No one's going to hit everything, but what they're doing is they're offering games that just would not have a place. They would not have a place. And instead, they're getting these spots to go like Plague Tale, for instance. I think that game would probably do well anywhere, but Focus Home has the chops to say, we're going to put a bunch of advertising behind this and get it in everybody's hands and get people talking about it. Where maybe if it was a bigger company, they may not. If it was a bigger company, they might be like, okay, that's a B tier.
And it's $50 on the PS4. Just
gotcha.
Undercutting a little bit. And for those who shop still at GameStop used, that means a couple of days, you wait a week, you're getting that game at $45.
Oh, I don't know anything about price.
No, yeah, it's usually like that first week they'll undercut it by $5 for those who shop. But
and this is for Plague Tale, or what game is that for?
Plague Tale. Yeah, that's $50 for PS4.
Okay, so I'm a little confused. Plague Tale's more than I thought it was going to be. I thought Plague Tale was $29.
Maybe on PC it might be like $40. Let's see, Plague Tale Steam. $45 on Steam for a pre-purchase. So
okay, that's what I figured. $39.40.
Yeah.
All right.
Looks like a solid game though. If Bethesda keeps not answering my emails, I might be reviewing that first instead of Rage 2. We'll see. But anyway, Focus Home killing it. So is World War Z. Well deserved because that's a really fun game. Do still recommend it. Karak and I both have reviews on it. Now we move on to our final segment, Patron Questions. So
I should add one thing.
Oh, go for it.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah, go for it.
So you were I want to say thanks for the congratulations on the views on the videos, but I firmly believe that especially in World War Z's case, that goes to show that people are chomping at the bit for fun.
Yeah.
So like Days Gone, that's a typical exclusive for Sony. That's going to do a certain number, but I believe that
sell well.
yeah, and it'll view well because people want to see it. But I think with World War Z, that I was watching how views went, and that really does feel like there is a undercurrent of people who are like, yeah, I get all this other shit, but is that thing fun? And they were looking for videos about, is that fun? And that's why like a video like that does well, where some others don't, because dude, there's a contingent out there, like we bump into them all the time. They're like, yeah, I get all the other shit, but is it enjoyable? And you don't even hear that in reviews anymore. Like half the time I look at a review, it's just like a number. There's no context for enjoyable.
Yeah.
There's no context for like, dude, this grabbed me or this didn't. It's just like, it's got this character in it who does this thing. The shooting's good. And you're like, seriously? That's not.
I will say, I didn't watch it. I did see GameSpot put out a 19-minute review of Days Gone.
Good for them.
Yeah.
19 minutes for Days Gone. Hey, jeez, that's long.
I was long. When I saw that, my eyebrow raised. I was like, okay, I like where we're going here. Okay, now we do actually move on to, is there anything else?
Is Patron Questions the last thing?
Yes.
I just want to say, don't buy the VR Index from Valve. It's a complete ripoff at $1,000. Continue.
Okay, yeah, agreed. Completely agreed. That was actually one of our questions, but I digress. That's totally fine because I didn't really care.
I can
about
explain
it
in more detail.
Yeah,
but,
it was more so. It was Graham asking us like if are we interested at all. But anyway, we got a lot of Patreon questions this time because now people are more familiar with it, and for those who want to know how it works, You sign up for the Discord, which is part of when you sign up for the Patreon, you are in the Discord, and then you can submit questions in the podcast question segment. If you don't want to go to that route, Discord's not your thing. It's another app on your phone. It's another app on your computer. You can just message me on Patreon. I don't get a ton of messages, so I will see it. And if it is a question I feel would fit into our podcast, or it's interesting enough, it will be a part of the show. Like starting off with Big Boss, who says, what's the most amount of times you have rebought a game? That's an awesome question. The most amount of times you've rebought a game.
On purpose or on accident? It doesn't say.
It does not specify, so let's go with either.
Sims 4 on accident.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I fucked up on Sims 4 multiple times on EA because their store isn't the greatest at telling you have a game or you have this thing. And I think I own, like, honestly, 4 copies of Sims 4 and all the DLC multiple times, like that, completely on accident. But I'm sure I've spent way more than what it would cost if you just bought the game once with all the DLC. I've definitely fucked that up. The other would be Skyrim, probably.
Yeah, I was going to say the chat just went all Skyrim. And GTA was another one, but for me, Skyrim. Hands GTA. Fucking down Skyrim. I have bought the version on Xbox, 4. The version on PS3. When I got my new PC, I got it. I bought the special edition on my Switch.
Yeah, that's what
I had to buy the Legendary Edition separately on my PC one time. 5 times. I've bought Skyrim 5 times. And actually, I got a PS4 fucking copy. I've bought Skyrim 6 times. I don't know. Skyrim's just magical to me. I really like that game, man. It's so fucking good. I've definitely bought that game more than anything else. I can't even say how many times have I bought KOTOR? I bought it in Circuit City. I bought it on my PC. I bought a physical copy once. I bought another one that I have sitting there. So I bought KOTOR 4 times digitally on Xbox 5.
And I bought, it's people are saying Skyrim
6.
VR. If we add Skyrim VR to it, then I have got it 6 times as well.
Yeah, holy shit. 6
For
times.
me, though, I will say I wouldn't have bought Skyrim 6 times. There were various reasons why, like whether it be a video or whatever. I probably wouldn't have got the PS4 version and the Xbox, or PS3 and the X. There's various different reasons I did it. And the special edition I would have never got had I known there were all these issues with like compatibility and mods and shit. Like I probably would have just stuck with the original.
Yeah. I know I bought New Vegas 3 times. That's one. I bought the PS3, 360, and PC version. PC version I got for $2 when I first got my PC. Really good deal. I'm trying to think. What else have I bought a fuck ton of? Nier Automata I bought twice. I really like that game. BioShock. PC. BioShock the Collection. Original. 3 times.
I have 3 versions of BioShock Infinite.
Yeah. So a lot of games that I really like, I've bought at least 3 times. Now that I think about it, I'm awful with managing my money. Clearly, Dragon Age Origins, that's a good one. Yeah, I think I've bought that. I've bought that 3 times too. No, I got it on my PS3 for Christmas, so I didn't technically buy that, but I owned a copy of it. I bought it on 360 for the achievements. I got it on Origin Access, so 3 times for that. Every Final Fantasy port ever, Shadow. Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people are in the same boat. That and Resident Evil. I'm sure someone's going to say, like, Resident Evil, they'll be buying it for the 8th time when they release on the Switch. Next question we've got is Bearded Panda. Recently, we were discussing longest playtime logged into a single game. Someone posted 10,093 hours and giving a review of, it's okay, I guess. What is your longest played game, and how many hours does it say you have in it? Anyway, did I specify that was from Bearded Panda? Sorry. I got it.
Yeah, you did.
Okay, I just want to make sure that I give credit to the patrons. See, cumulatively, I'm sure I could easily pick the game I've had the most playtime in. But I can't have, like, an actual number attached to it.
I know I have 400 hours in Fallout 4 VR. But I would say for me, I'm sure it's one of the. It's probably Star Trek Online.
Yeah,
because I'm a huge. I love that game, but and I don't know. Yeah, I don't even know how many. I mean, I'm sure it's more than 400.
I'm seeing some crazy.
The problem is that I don't usually believe Steam's numbers ever because you idle. In Steam, like if you're trying to get a mod to run, is that actually playing the game? No. So I have to, and I used to install, I mean, shit, the last Skyrim game had 318 mods. So it's like, obviously, to get all those run and reboot it, restart it and all that kind of stuff. But
right.
Yeah, Fallout VR was probably the longest of true playtime, other than the MMO.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. True playtime, Persona 4 is up there. I've got probably a good 400 hours from the amount of times I've replayed that. Fallout 4 is up there. That's probably, I mean, if I included working on Fallout 4, I'm talking like videos on top of playing, on top of streaming, on top of all the scattered save files, I probably have worked with that game and played it for thousands of hours.
Yeah, that's the problem too, is like that creation.
Right.
Like how many hours? It's it's impossible to separate them at some point.
Yeah, because I play for the video, but working with it is almost a form of playing with it. You're kind of toying with the content. I've gone into the creation kit for videos. And so for me, yeah, no, you're good. So I'd say Fallout 4 is probably up there. That was one of the biggest games on my channel. Fallout 3 for sure, hundreds of hours in that. I've replayed that game so many times, 200%
I've got a lot of hours
plus the DLC. That's probably one of the most. KOTOR 1, yeah. If you combine, if I could have an actual piece of data showing me every playthrough I've done since I got that game when I was 10, and like annually I played this game, ladies and gentlemen, annually, sometimes twice a year, and especially when I was a kid, I replayed it like 80 fucking times. Up until this date, I still replay it. I will have over 1,000 on that game.
Yeah, I have over 1,000 in that and Mass Effect 1.
Mm-hmm.
Mass Effect 1 was my jam for a long time, where I would play it and then it would end and I would quite literally start it again. I did that with KOTOR many times. Yeah. KOTOR 1 I played so many times that like I don't even really count it because it was where yeah, and where like I'd just be like, fuck it, I'm turning it back on, and where I'd play it over a weekend and beat it and then turn right back around and start it. But yeah, I would say it is funny there's BioWare games a lot of times for me. Or it used to be, not anymore, but it used to be.
I mean, and the other thing is games you can't track timers on. Like I play Dragon Ball the card game a lot. I'd say last year, it's a card game, but it's a game, right? This is probably my most played game last year. I've
so is my HeroClix for me, for sure. Yeah, if we're talking
stupid amount of times with that.
Yeah, if we're talking analog as well.
Yeah, because like building decks, testing them, playing online in the Untap, going to tournaments in real life, just researching decks. Like I've spent absurd amount of time with that game, probably nearing 1,000. Like I've spent a lot of time with Dragon Ball the card game because I love it to death. So that's a really good question too. Thank you, Bearded Panda. Mike Fury asks, what do you expect from Rage 2, even though I think y'all talk about it? So I'm expecting crazy, fun, off the wall shit, and a story that surprises people. I think that'll be kind of the base package there.
I don't know.
And like really solid gunplay.
That's my honest answer. I have no clue. I have no clue.
In a good way or a bad way? Like you just
in not a bad. I really don't know, because what they've shown all looks solid, but it's like I want to jump in and drive the cars around, verify how I just have absolutely no clue how they're split. Are you driving the car as much as you think? Are you on your feet as much as you think? So can you explore on the vehicles? Can you explore on foot? All that kind of stuff. So I really don't know what to expect other than an open world game. Post-apocalyptic open world games, which I happen to like.
Right.
So my hope is we get something awesome.
Yeah. Sizable Mattress said my only concern for Age 2 is that it looks really easy. Now, granted, you have to learn the controls and the powers and everything. I had to do that in a short period of time twice, or scattered across 3 months when I played it at E3 and QuakeCon. But I didn't think it was super easy. In fact, I thought that certain shooting arenas were quite challenging. Like when, it got really closed in, you had to balance when you wanted to use your abilities. So if that gives you any peace of mind, I thought it was somewhat challenging, more so than Borderlands 3, for reference. But yeah, just know it's not stupidly easy. So I hope that helps. Kopi asks, as of now, what titles do you think contend for Game of the Year? And what upcoming releases do you think will change that? I could talk about what I think will contend, because right now I really haven't had a game that's my Game of the Year, which is kind of strange. The last 2 years I've had clear
in
game
February.
of the year contenders by April. Like last year was God of War. The year before that was Nier Automata and Persona 4. Like you knew those would be there. So it's kind of different this year. I really have like I enjoyed Kingdom Hearts 3 a lot, despite its flaws, and I'm sure that'll make its way in a top 10. Just because I really had fun with it. It was fun. It was stupidly easy. I had issues with its story, but it was still a really fun game, and I liked how true to itself it was and how much it didn't waver from how it built itself. But anyway, yeah, man, I really enjoy Super Dragon Ball Heroes, but I don't view that as a Game of the Year title at all. It's just like good fan service. Resident Evil 2 was a strong game. I wasn't as in love with Sekiro as everyone else, so that was instantly off my list. Yeah, it's been a slow year for me. I've enjoyed playing games a lot. I'm just nothing's screaming Game of the Year, but I'm having fun with games. That's the cool part. So that's why I think I usually don't get, because we games are our lives. It's our livelihood, but it's also an enjoyable thing for you and I. And so I don't sometimes get that like childhood, like, oh my God, yes, like here it comes, like I'm getting for Rage 2, which is something, because I think I see that as a potential, oh, this could be a Game of the Year thing for me. It's right up my alley. I love post-apocalyptic. I enjoyed the first Rage one a lot despite its ending. I love what they're doing with the game right now. Cheat codes, vehicles, how it just true to its own identity it's being, which is off the wall stupid. I'm usually not about that stupidity in games, but I really like it in this one. So I think that's why I'm really head over heels for it and can't wait to get my hands on it. But right now, I don't really have a Game of the Year. Do you?
Resident Evil was probably one of the better games I've played this year.
Yeah, but it's not
I usually by February have one, which in the last 2 years that's happened. Prior to that would never happen. I think we've had two really good startings of years in 2018, 2017. But We the Revolution, Mike says. I mean, that's the thing. Game of the Year, I don't know. I did enjoy cutting everyone's fucking head off. Like, that was a blast, but I don't know if that was really Game of the Year versus me just living vicariously through killing everyone. So, I don't really know. There hasn't really been anything that's made me go, damn. Like, World War Z is a blast, but it's got its own issues. They've all had, there hasn't been that. I would say Resident Evil is pretty high, for sure. Like, it had almost everything I wanted. So it would be one of the high ones. But man, Game of the Year right now would be more like, it would be more like picking through good games and saying which one was the best of the good games versus which is Game of the Year.
Exactly.
Right now.
Like, nothing really is, like, I put it this way, anything that's on my Game of the Year list right now, except for maybe Kingdom Hearts 3, and even that, objectively speaking, could easily get pushed off. Like Resident Evil 2, I really enjoyed, but I was not so in love with it. I'm like, that's a lock. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've had that these last couple of years by this point, where God of War, I was like, I thoroughly enjoy that. It had its issues with, like I said, like the combat scaling and difficulty I thought was flawed, and not a lot of people talked about it. But I knew that was a lock. The way they told the story, the world, there was a lot with that game I loved enough to know, by the end of this year, I know I'm going to put this in my list. Where this time I'm not. As for games, though, that are coming up that I could see, contending for that list, part of me likes not knowing, because the games will surprise you, right? Especially nowadays where we're seeing World War Z come out of nowhere and really steal a lot of titles' thunder. It's awesome to see that, because that's like an underrated title that probably is someone's Game of the Year right now, because it's just, wow, this is fun. True. I didn't see it coming. It's like a combination of surprise, but wow, this is a really well-made game. For me, I always look at the Outer Worlds. I obviously, Cyberpunk 2077 is one that, if that comes out this year, that's probably one that could easily crack the list, just given CD Projekt Red's reputation. Same thing goes for Obsidian. Borderlands 3, based off what I played, that's one that once I got my hands on, it felt good, it played good, it had its own identity, it was a fantastic game once more. And so those are three that I can list off that I feel have a chance to contend for the list. But I usually don't like to build expectations on when a game could be a Game of the Year. I try to wipe the slate clean before it comes out and just go, okay, this is just a game, and let's see what wows me and what doesn't. And that's how I take a critical approach to it, because then it makes gaming more exciting, because when I get really wowed, even from that clean slate, despite all my excitement and love for Borderlands, it's like, oh shit, like it really blew me away. Oh, Devil May Cry 5, that's a good one. I have not played that yet. And based off what I've heard musically and what I've seen,
that game is fucking awesome.
Yeah, that's one that I feel once I play it for my birthday, because I'm waiting till then. I was like, all right, I'll have time then. Oh god, yeah, that's gonna be one that I think I'm gonna really fucking like. I'm gonna be honest.
That game, when you're like Danzig's little brother, that game, especially when you start getting the other characters, it is very cool. But it's definitely got an issue with monster arenas.
Okay.
Which I can certainly see bothering people.
I kind of expected that just from DMC Devil May Cry, which I
agree,
liked.
but I think that expectations at some point we want to move on from, right?
Right.
So I think you will be one of those people. I completely see you saying I expected this, but I also see you saying I expected this, in both good and bad. You know what I mean? And I expected it, but I was also like, it would be really nice to not see the blood fucking membrane go down and know that bad guys. I mean, you could literally in that game come to an area and go, bad guys.
Yeah.
Like there was no question. You were like, bad guys for sure. Bad guys. There's bad guys there. And it still, I guess you could say it's excellent because it still was good.
Right.
But game of the year, maybe not so much. And for me, it's almost always indies. It almost always turns out to be an indie game. Last year was The King's Bird, which was just like a fucking game I had no clue. Like I saw, I think they randomly emailed me and were like, "Do you want to check it out?" And I played it, and I was like, "Are you fucking shitting me?" Like that game stuck with me enough that if it was this year, I'd still rate that game the game of the year for this year. Like that's how good it was. So and how unique it was.
Sizable Mattress mentioned Smash, and that's one that I think I'm going to put on my list just because I didn't play it much last year when it came out so late, and I'm going to be a piece of shit and just be like, you know what? This game's fucking amazing. It's one of the best fighters ever made. So. Here it is on my Game of the Year list. I'm really considering it because I still play it to this day.
When was it released?
December 6th.
Oh, so technically because of the way Game of the Year, some people are
I already had
December.
my list on too. So by that point.
Yeah, makes sense.
And Nintendo's policy wasn't good, so that just makes you not want to put it on your list anyway because you're just like, I can't use gameplay footage for it.
True.
Oh, Mortal Kombat 11, that's one that, once I put more time into it, I have about like 20 hours in it, and that's the thing with Smash, like even at hour 20, I wasn't like, oh, this is a game of the year. I was still really dabbling with the roster and learning the depth of the game. I feel like Mortal Kombat 11 could crack that list, but we'll see on that one.
Not for me.
I get it. I just really, even after the stimulus package too, I'm like, yes, like everything's great. Everything is awesome. Like it's,
everything is awesome.
Johnny EC asks our final question. How do you feel about publishers not implementing all of their online components at the time reviewers are reviewing their game, only to activate it months after? Examples, Red Dead Redemption 2, Black Ops 4. And what do you guys think would be a good counter to this practice publishers seem to be following? We did see Ubisoft do this too, I believe, with, was it Far Cry New Dawn? And Mortal Kombat did it as well, where you could not access the store and see what the game was going to be selling you prior to its launch, and right when it did launch, it was available for you to dive into. I think, well, the answer's simple then. Let's say it is a microtransaction issue that they do have disabled. I think they should have their stores online. I think they should activate servers early for reviewers. Maybe in the scheme of like a Division 1, I would say less so 2. I thought 2 felt like the only time you had shared world stuff was when you went in those little hideouts. But Division 1, I get why they wouldn't activate the servers early, because that whole game was a shared world, and the Dark Zone wouldn't. Also in Division 2 this applies, but like the Dark Zone wouldn't function as well. So I get why for reviewers that's not active. But in the case of like a Mortal Kombat 11, the online servers were on, so you could play online, you could test that, but you couldn't test the store, which to me signifies it's choice. So I'd say choose to start activating your stores, be transparent, let consumers know what they're buying into. I think companies approach this type of stuff with too much fear because they don't realize that maybe they'll get a little more slack from consumers if they're just open. Not that it's going to be forgivable, but more people will be like, at least I know now. At least I know what I'm buying into. And does everything that's there, like we were talking about earlier, overshadow that thing I tend to have an issue with? I think that's why the transparency is important. They don't trust the consumers enough. Assassin's Creed Odyssey did do that too. Yes, thank you, chat. See, this is why we have you guys here. It works out so well.
I just email them and ask.
Really?
I think I always do. I think the only one that didn't answer was Mortal Kombat.
Which
so like with the Ubisoft, I mean, you and I both probably deal with, I would say, 80% of the same people. Ubisoft has never been that.
Excellent team.
Never been that, like, I don't know what the term would be, secretive. They may not put it up there for whatever reason, but I just email and I email the contact at the creator group and I'll just be like, okay, there's a store here. What the fuck's going to be in it? What are the prices? And a lot of times they'll be like, prices can be from here to here, and it'll be this. And I'll be like, okay. And then sometimes they'll be like, this is exactly it. Other times they've sent pictures. It just all depends. I would say overall, I don't know how much of it's on purpose with the day and date ones. It seems like it's on purpose, which I hate. The later ones, because he said something about like a month late or whatever.
Like Black
that's
Ops
not
4.
That's not a reviewer thing. That's an update to the game, and that's like at the point. So here's the thing: they're asking for $60, day and date. You can choose one or two routes to go. Give them a fucking interest-free loan by buying it early with no reviews, what have you. I find that a dumbass fucking thing to do. Or you can check into who's reviewing it day and date for what they see on that day. And then each day after that, that's going to be an adjustment that you, as a consumer, are going to have to go, okay, this is a month later, what's changed? I mean, and then different people cover. There's not a fucking game out there, Matty, where somebody isn't doing a video on this.
Yeah.
So will it be the reviewer? I don't know. But also, has a game ever fundamentally changed after release for me? No, other than Rainbow Six, or gotten better. They've gotten better. Mechanics have gotten better, but have they magically gotten worse? The only game I can say looks odd to me, and I'm investigating it right now for a video, is Red Dead 2. Because Red Dead 2's single player, it looks like they've turned the ambient occlusion off, which is one of the better parts of graphics, and it's how 3D elements are broken up in a graphics plane.
Right.
That looks to have been reduced or removed. Yeah, it looks to have been reduced or removed in the single player, probably to improve frame rate. And if that's true, and I think it is, I'll just say it is, I just haven't gone back and looked, then that's a big deal, but it's only one game out of thousands released. And I say if it's a month later, you got to look at a review that's done that day. And we do have that. And that's a place where a new YouTuber, this is why I always tell people, don't fucking get caught up in the day one shit. I didn't. You didn't. I still buy my games. I still buy a lot of games and review them that I still don't get codes for. You're going to do it for Rage, let's say. If you don't get a code from them at some point, you'll cover it in some way. There's a place for somebody who's, let's say, a new YouTuber to look and go, you know what? I'm not going to get in this race with everybody. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit these 6 or 7 games that are a month later. Where are they now? That's what you need to call your video. Where are they now? Rage 2. Where are they now? Division 2.
He does that with Fallout 76. He's like X amount of months later and just breaks it all down. And I've done that stuff too. And it's fun to make. Like, just especially, like, for example, I think a great example would be Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Because that game is, I mean, in a positive way, like the free content they've added, like New Game Plus.
Oh, yeah.
Now you have the new DLC coming out. Yeah, you get a really good look at the game a couple months after the fact. And I think that's a video project that we're nearing on half a year later. Where actually, no, that game came out in November. Has it already been half a year?
It's been close to half a year.
And so there you go. I think that's a good video topic I might look into, because I'd love to just go back and see what that game's like now, because it was fantastic when I played it, and then see, like, with all the new content added
Spider-Man 3 DLCs.
Yeah.
Right? Go back and say now that, but Joraptor, he does cover these, but he has a tendency to just blather all the data versus say if the game. I'm talking about not just data. I'm talking about there is a place for a reviewer or a game YouTuber to look at those and go, this will be my spot. And there are other people that do it, but I still think there's nowhere near as many as there are available views in that spot. And people don't want to do it. They want to talk about the new shit. And I'm going to tell you right now, that is so saturated that it is, unless you're contentious on purpose, if you want to be a jackass on purpose, you can probably do okay. But at some point, you're going to pay the price for that. So I think it would be, I would watch videos. I'd look at videos for Division 1 I did, where I was like 6 months later going, Division 1, what are the updates? And you look at it, right? Rainbow Six Siege, continual updates, For Honor. God damn, you could do a Ubisoft-only video. Or a Ubisoft-only channel, sorry. And
you really
just
could.
cover the Ubisoft
and I think Ubisoft makes good enough games to justify that for some creators. At least now they do. Like, between, I'd say, Watch Dogs is solid enough, and Assassin's Creed is really on
Origins,
track.
the Assassin's Creed ones, Rainbow Six, For Honor, all those.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I like what they do nowadays, and I hope they stay on that track, because I like liking Ubisoft. You know, they're the company that we were always vying for. They're the ones who also made, what's it called?
Where are they now? Mick Fury is what I was calling it. Sorry, I was answering his question.
No, you're good.
Raven Rabbids.
The Mario and Rabbids one, the crossover, like they make good stuff like that. AC Unity would be a great re-review for a new YouTuber, in my opinion. I only remember the launch being and I think a lot of people went back and experienced how I like the game. I didn't have any of the bugs that everyone else had.
On which game?
I got lucky. AC Unity. I did not have this torrential, awful experience with it, which you can go watch my review. I was positive about it. I enjoyed it. No one flamed me for it, because I genuinely, you could see even in my gameplay, shit was not breaking around me. I got a good copy. I don't know what happened.
Bro, you got a magic fucking whatever console,
I don't know what happened, but it
happens though, right? It does happen. It does. Days Gone.
Yeah, I'm
you
sure.
and I probably had different bugs. I mean, it does happen. Yeah.
But it's strange, because Days Gone, you and I can agree this game wasn't ready, right? Where with Unity, I remember reviewing it and being like, this is fucking awesome, and plus multiplayer, and I played co-op with my friend, like, it was a fucking good-ass game for me. But I remember, like, looking at the reviews afterwards, I was like, oh, shit. This is not as good as people think, but I just got a good copy. I
mean, and dude, it depends on how you play, too, right? Like, well, I don't know if you know this, but Days Gone, there's now a pretty good, substantial grouping of evidence that with Days Gone, if you go into hibernation mode on the PS4, it gets worse and worse. Performance-wise. Bloodborne. Dude, Bloodborne turned off the fucking attacks of the bosses. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah.
But if you pre-patched, you could fucking go into standby mode, come back 6 hours later, and the boss would do one attack forever. That was it, and you could just destroy him. Yeah, I think that, I think overall, you just got lucky, and Unity graphically looks amazing. I'll certainly, at times, their lighting engine, because it's pre-baked. There's some great stuff in there. Co-op, like you said. I had nothing but problems with that game. I'm getting mad talking about it.
I know, that's the thing. Like, I'd be right there with you, but like, I had just a solid experience. I almost wish I had the bad experience.
No, don't. I wish I had yours. Don't wish you had.
Because I want to not like it, but more so I want to understand, because I experienced something that, the story wasn't that great. It was very much like an Ezio copycat guy once again.
Right.
But like the level design, the mission design was much more open. The parkour was good in the game. I like the world.
Music.
I like the co-op stuff. Yeah, the music was good. I thought it added a lot of fun stuff to the series that I thought, this is what I thought when the pivot for Assassin's Creed would be. Turns out it wasn't until like Origins. But I thought this is when the pivot would happen. And it ended up being a big flop.
Dude. Yeah. Oh man. I did 2 reviews on that. The review and then a patch review, which is rare for me because I had time to go back. And it's just me in front of the camera, just full speed. And I know a lot of people think, they're like, oh, he must record his stuff. And I'm like, go watch my Unity re-review and you'll know I don't pre-record anything, or I don't need to take cuts. Like, this is me when I'm talking about a game, and like almost none of it's positive. I try, man. Because, I mean, I don't want to smash on a game, but that game, the experience you had and I had is so diametrically opposed. I would never think you were lying about it either. That's another thing. People would, like you said, you were lucky enough to not get sell out or whatever might come up.
I'm like really lucky. Like the ratio was really good. People were like, all right, nice review, Matt. I'm like, oh, thanks.
Yeah, so to me, you probably hit a group of people that also didn't get it. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. Unfortunately, we're in a day and age now where consoles with different SKUs, we're starting to get more and more of these, which then augments your chances. I think with Unity, it just wasn't ready.
Yeah, clearly.
Unfortunately. And Master Chief Collection. Oof, fuckaroo. Man, no game was...
Yeah.
Man, that game was
bad. That's one that I played for like 2 hours and put down completely. Just...
Man, that game is depressing. Imagine Mario getting released and them just not giving a shit. Well, Fallout 76. I would say Master Chief Collection and Fallout 76 are both major IPs where the companies... I don't know what they did.
Yeah, 76 is a great example. It's one that guts you as a fan. You're like... Man, what did they do? Why? Because
Mass Effect Andromeda. That somebody's mentioning that. That's true. Mass Effect Andromeda had a lot of bugs for me.
I didn't have a good time with Andromeda. That was one that I was reviewing, and I could not wait for it to be over.
You like the multiplayer? Or was that 3?
I love Mass Effect's multiplayer. I love it. Even Andromeda.
I love it. Did you do Inquisition's multiplayer? The D&D multiplayer?
No. I could not stand the single player of Inquisition. I was wise enough to know that I would not like the multiplayer of Inquisition if that was the case. I fucking do not like Inquisition at all. Like, how you were just doing that man spree that you're like, man, like you just couldn't find the words. Like, that's how I feel about Inquisition. I am a big hater of Inquisition.
Inquisition, and no one believed me when I was like, they hired MMO writer. Like, look, they hired MMO Quest, and it was like one of the first times I've been vindicated. I'm all, watch out, because that means something. And it's like microtransactions. When you get the company that hires microtransaction experts, you're all, they didn't hire them for no fucking reason. They're not writing PR documents. Like, that's their expertise that they're bringing.
Like when Bethesda hired a monetization expert before 76. I was like,
yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, shit happens, man. All right. It's a 2-hour show and our last segment complete. Thank you all so much for your questions. As always, keep submitting them in the Discord or send me a message over on Patreon. We love including you guys in the show. We do hope you enjoy. Thank you for tuning in to episode 201 of the H.A.M Radio Podcast, and we'll see you live on Twitch along with all podcasting services like iTunes, Google Play, and Spotify. We are on Spotify, so you can listen to us there on top of the early access for SoundCloud.
And leave a review, please. If any of those allow for a review, I just found out how they're vital. So if you go, even if you're like, I hate these guys, Karak's stupid, feel free. Leave a review, because it actually does. That does matter to a lot of people I've talked to. They're like, that's a big deal.
Right on. Yeah, we'll be sure to remind you guys earlier in the show next time. But anyway, thank you all so much for tuning in, for listening through YouTube or wherever you wanted to listen, and giving us your time on this Sunday. And we'll catch you guys next week. Peace out.
Peace out.